situations. What about you, Ben and Winter? Ben, any teams that really stand out to you? Of course, yesterday we discussed Newbie, kind of surprising everyone by taking games off of the strongest teams in their group.
Yeah, I think they can actually 2-0 some teams with the way they've been playing. And again, just not many teams have been prepared for the way that they played. It looks like they play very standard, though. I wouldn't, like, if I just looked at their replays without any of the names, you'd be like, oh, this is just a normal 6.84 strategy. But the way they play is still, still shows why they were TI4 champions.
Right on. And Winter, what about Team Empire? Not looking so strong yet, going into halfway point of the group stages, and MVP Hot Six also having some trouble finding their footing here at TI5.
I think Team Empire has an issue that Team Secret and Team EG, they didn't have it. Because if you look at the first series, I think Team Secret and Team EG showed why they are the strongest teams in the whole pack because of how quickly they adapt and they fix problems. They ran into issues in the first day. And it just took them like one day or maybe even the second series, they immediately fixed their problems. Whereas you look at teams like Empire and teams like IG, when they have a rough series, the next series, you don't see as much improvement in them. Whereas they maybe need a longer time, maybe a day, the next day, they would be able to fix certain problems. But for Secret and EG, when I look at their games and their first series and I compare the games on the same day, there's a lot of improvements in drafts and in playstyle within the first day itself. So I think that's something worth noting, that how fast they adapt and fix their problems.
That's a really good point. Hopefully we see more of that today as we go forward. And again, something to look forward to between our very first match, LGD and Secret. But before we go into day 3, of course, I mean, day 1 was packed with exciting games, but day 2 was no letdown. We have some highlights from defining moments of day 2. The very first one is in C9 versus Fnatic. And this, I mean, more than anything, just showing that C9, they definitely started the day a lot better than they did on day 1.
Yeah, they went back to a couple of their comfort picks for Fata. This game, we're going to see his Dragon Knight. The game before this was his Beastmaster, and they also go for the support Pugna. Or in this case, actually, it was an offlaner for Bone 7, I think, in this particular game. And yeah, they definitely stepped up their game. It seemed like they were like, okay, guys, yesterday was a bad day. We need to shift gears. We are aiming for the top 4 spot in the group stage. So today we have to peak, and so far, so good.
Yeah, this was a matchup we discussed quite heavily yesterday as the day kicked off, just on if Fnatic gets that lead. I mean, they rolled over Secret in the early game. If they can do it against Secret, they can definitely pull it off against C9, but C9 didn't let that happen, got those 3 points, rather, that they needed to kick off day 2. Now, in the next clip we're going to see coming up, things not going too well for C9, but definitely a pretty sick moment in the early half of yesterday's games. We'll see that right here as we see C9 going up against Secret. And we have a nice little steal from Rubik here. Rubik getting that RP.
Kuroki is incredible when it comes to positioning with his Rubik. He's, this is something I was talking about yesterday when it came to, I think that was actually what I was talking about, Cloud9 compared to teams like Secret and EG, how Secret and EG are just that bit better at thinking one step ahead. And you just see, it's also something I think S4 has said in, I think he said in an interview that the way they play and the way they approach the game is that they always think about what is the worst thing that can happen when we're going for our play. So they've like thought out all the possible scenarios that could happen before they do, and they prepare for it. So in this case, what's the worst thing that can happen? We're clumping up in Roche, we get RP. What's our counterplay? We put Rubik outside, we let them RP us, because then we turn that bad play into a good play for us and bait C9 into a bad position.
Right on. And as we're talking about that, we go forward. We had a couple, 2 games of Techies yesterday, and Complexity just completely dominating with Techies against IG. We saw some of these highlights yesterday. Quite a few kills with those mines. Winter, what are your thoughts on Techies already having such a high count in TI5 so far?
I think for this game, it's particularly effective because IG had so many melee heroes. That's like a huge thing. Like against Techies, you want to have the right heroes to demine or destroy his mines around the map, and his remote mines and the land mines as well.
Oh!
Like usually you see like either illusion-based heroes or like Zeus, for example, but they have nothing in their lineup that deals with mines well.
Yeah, and this is a scene we talked heavily about yesterday, Ben. I mean, here we have the Enchantress, whether it was premeditated or not, kind of baiting them into a fight, and we do have Secret.
I really like Arteezy's move at this point. It's like he mantas, he 6-2 of the illusions onto the Clinks, and then splits up for the Leshrac so that he can, maximize his damage and make Lush's decision really difficult as to where to drop his splitter. Anti-Mage seems to be, I would say, the stable carry of choice after Gyrocopter. He's really good versus Leshrac, which some teams actually let through Secret and EG in particular, as well as the Storm Spirit.
All right, and this one, a pretty big moment for MVP Phoenix. They do end up tying 1-1 against Fnatic. So Fnatic, after having that strong showing against Secret, a lot of other teams really trying to focus them down, at least take one game off of Fnatic, keep them at bay. We'll see. MVP Phoenix going for a push here. And we didn't get to see this on the mainstream, but again, I mean, a lot of people being pleasantly surprised by a couple of these games from whether it's MVP Phoenix or even MVP Hot 6.
Yeah, they're definitely showing that they can take games off higher rated teams, I guess. Fnatic were definitely a team, if you ask me going into the tournament, I would say they were just flat out 2-0 MVP, but Fnatic have been like day and night in their games, it seems. Like they had that incredible absolute beatdown of Secret, which is the only game Secret has lost, and then they've been on the receiving end against a team like MVP. I think yesterday they went 0-2 against another team where they were really not looking too good. I can't remember which matchup that was. I think we had it on our stream actually.
We'll have to double check on that
It's
one.
eluding me right now, but
Cloud9?
was it Cloud9?
Yeah, they lost.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was
would've
pretty
been-
convincing too from Cloud9. Like it wasn't that close. Maybe game 1 was decent, but game 2 was pretty one-sided.
Yeah, and this is our last clip for day 2. I mean, a very back and forth game between EG and Vici. Of course, at the end of the day, EG being able to pull
This
that
was the
one out.
best game from yesterday, if I recall. Like the best series from
Yeah,
yesterday.
this game was incredible. And the series, yeah. Okay.
Glimmer Cape plus Cold Embrace.
Yep. It was probably this was the game with the overall highest level of execution from both teams. So there were, of course, a couple of mistakes here and there, but overall, the way they adapted during fights, the way you could tell they approached fights and how they strategized was really nice to watch. That's definitely the highlight moment of yesterday.
Yeah, and again, only halfway through the group stages, so plenty more to come. As you can see on your screens behind us, we do have the schedule for our very first games of day 3. On stream 3, we will be kicking off with Na'Vi versus Fnatic. Again, two teams really still trying to find their stable footing. Fnatic had a strong showing on day 1, like we discussed. Na'Vi definitely had their shining moments too, but both of these teams kind of being back and forth. We'll see who comes out on top. On stream 2, C9 versus IG. Potential to go a very long game. Could turn out to be one of the more epic games we have in the group stages. But most importantly, here on our stream, on the main stream, we do have Secret versus LGD. So let's dive right into that matchup. I mean, sure, statistically, okay, both teams are number 1 in Group A. They're tied with 10 points. Secret coming in as a strong favorite into TI5, but a lot of people were saying, I don't know, LGD, we think definitely can be top 3, at least, at TI5. Winter, what are your thoughts on this matchup, given what we've seen from both teams so far?
I think they have a very big contrast in playstyle. LGD is like what we mentioned before, a lot of 5-man, they want to push. So the hero I would watch out for, if I'm LGD, I would be ready for Keeper of the Light. I think Secret would actually let the Undying to give it to LGD, and they will play a Keeper of the Light to just move the team around and make sure that Undying is very useless in the game. He can't push towers because of Keeper of the Light. Or the other hero, I think it's Ayo, might be contested by both of the teams because both of them play the hero well. But so far, we have not seen any Ayo picks from Secret. So, but obviously, they've played it a lot in the past. So I think these are the two heroes that are going to be in contention for the match today.
Yeah, Ben, I mean, overall, we have mentioned Wisp quite a few times on, well, it could work here in this draft or in certain compositions. Hasn't been picked up as many times as we discussed, but what are your thoughts on maybe some of those contention picks, aside from kind of the meta favorites?
I'm curious to see what they're going to do for late gamers. I think LGD is one of the strongest late game teams in Secret. We talked about Secret C9 yesterday. It's like, okay, well, Cloud9 can't really match up for Secret late game, so they have to go all in early game. LGD, I think, is a little bit of the opposite. I think their best chance might actually be to out late game Secret and try and scale better throughout. And I don't think they're actually going to go for the Undying just because they know that Secret can counter it really well. And I think that's actually Secret's initiative to actually take control of the early game.
Syndrome, would you agree with that? Because generally, again, that, like you mentioned, Ben, that's a little bit opposite of what we used to say when Secret has a matchup.
I think it's definitely a scary proposition to go late game against Secret, but I would agree if there's there's like very few teams here in this tournament that I would say have a good shot against Secret League. And LGD is one of them, so I could definitely see that. I want to mention I think Anti-Mage will actually be could become a really important hero in this matchup. It seems to be Secret's go-to hero against this kind of 5-man is that they have Arteezy farming, the other 4 buy time and hold the map and just create space, and then he takes over because when the enemy team is 5-manning, he will naturally out-farm them. So he puts pressure on them to either spread their forces out across the map to counter him, or to go for their pushes, and then should they fail, he will just come back strong. So, and it's also a hero for LGD, I think. It could be. If they want to play the late game, I think Anti-Mage could definitely be a pick for them as well.
Well, yeah, Anti-Mage overall so far has been the go-to if we want to see a late game carry. For many teams at TI5, draft has already started, ladies and gentlemen, for Game 1 between these two powerhouses in Group A. And Undying being banned out by LGD actually right away, of course, alongside the Naga, and Secret going with the Lesh ban. No big surprise there.
Yes, now they need to decide what they want to give away. So the Undying that we were talking about is not even going to be a thing here. Do you ban Gyro or Tusk? Probably, right? One of them.
Probably not Tusk. I think Tusk is lower on... Okay, they're actually going to ban that.
I think Yao was actually really good on Tusk in his last game I saw yesterday.
He is.
It's probably his most comfortable.
He played Tusk before it got super popular. So he's one of the forerunners of that. I think you have to ban Naga Siren every game versus Secret. And probably EG too, for that matter, in the first phase. It's just really difficult to counter. BKB or not, it's really difficult to play around, and it's one that most teams can't utilize themselves. So I think that's definitely a hero you want to ban.
And this is interesting to see because we've been talking about during the group stage that teams have prioritized Shadow Fiend less than we thought they would, even on Radiant. And one of those teams has been Secret, who haven't even picked it all tournament, I think. At least I can't remember seeing a single Arteezy Shadow Fiend, and now they pick it first phase against LGD, which definitely goes to show that S4 and the whole team definitely had something else planned going in against LGD.
I mean, these two heroes have something very in common that is very good against LGD. They can fight and they can split push. Like, if they feel they can take the fight towards LGD when they are going to 5-man, Queen of Pain and Shadow Fiend can definitely come and join the fights early, and they can also be used just in case you can't take the fights early. Queen of Pain and SF can also split push, so there's a lot of flexibility in the heroes at what they can do in the game.
I was watching the Team Secret camera and S4 was just cracking up. I was like, what are you possibly thinking? They gave us That was what was running through my mind. I'm like, I don't exactly know what they were laughing about, but it was...
Well, yeah, after that, Shaker being taken out, and then the Brood ban, second phase ban. Definitely not something people are going to forget just yet after day 1.
It's... You don't give that hero to Zai unless you have a really good plan. Like, that is just, in my opinion, his best hero compared to everyone else in the scene. Like, where he is most ahead of others is just Brood. So, definitely agree with that. Now, they did pick up the Shaker as I was thinking they would. It's just a very standard LGD go-to first phase pick, solid carry plus Shaker. It's also a good way of putting pressure on Shadow Fiend, who will more than likely be mid. There is a slight chance that Secret safe lane it and mid lane the Quap because of this, but I don't think they will. So of course it gives you roaming potential to try to block off the Shadow Fiend, and then whatever mid lane you have could probably easily kill him. So I'm thinking LGD might be considering their Lina as their next pick, because they can first of all put it mid on maybe, but they can also play it on Xiao 8, who likes to play the support.
Yeah. We were talking about Lina, and like what teams like to pick it. Like, other than Hot 6, LGD was the other team that came to our mind when we were talking about that hero yesterday. Has a very good matchup with Quap and definitely deals with like BKB targets like Shadow Fiend very well later into the game.
Secret do have the next pick though. They've banned Bounty. That was another hero we forgot in phase 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Well, and then there's Lina.
I mean, there's still what, Dazzle for Team Secret. There's also still Clock.
Clock could be good. Like, it's really good versus Gyro in some sense. Like we mentioned, before he gets BKB, you have a timing window.
Look at Dazzle. I still think Clock, Coddle might be their last 2 picks actually.
They rarely pick Dazzle and Coddle.
But yeah, Dazzle Coddle together might be a little bit too defensive. They did do that. Wasn't there that their support duo against Fnatic when they got rolled? Was that Dazzle Coddle, or was it Coddle and another defensive?
I think it was Dazzle Coddle.
They had a Tusk, but I think that was played by Zai in that game, so it was not a support. Might have been Dazzle Coddle. There's the Wisp. They're expecting. Could come out here in this series. So. We're going to see it with a Tiny, most likely. I think they did play that yesterday. It was maybe on Tiny. I do think one game, or am I mixing it up with another team?
Yeah, I think it's really good of a choice to choose it right now because once Secret revealed their co-op and Shadowfin, usually when Secret see IO plus Tiny, they will respond with the Bristleback. You put the Bristleback towards the IO Tiny lane because it deals very well with 1 versus 2 situation. It does very, very well.
S4 is not laughing so much right now.
Yeah, I think they probably realized they couldn't. It's difficult for them to switch towards the Bristleback gear right now since their other 2 cores are already shown.
I still think they can do it though.
Then they have to do Queen of Pain offlane, right?
Yeah.
Well,
It's not ideal, but neither is
I mean,
putting SF mid versus.
There's gonna be negative parts about doing that because their lanes will be a bit weird. And
Well,
I think SF does very badly against IO Tiny, in my opinion. It does very, very badly. He needs help somehow.
You can tell Secret didn't want this pick to happen because they're digging a lot into their extra time. They might have not expected it with the Shaker already being picked for LGD that they would also go for the IO.
Yeah. And usually when you pick IO here, it more or less means there's a high chance that the Earthshaker is actually a core offlane position. We saw it done by teams a lot of times already. When they have IO, the Earthshaker is actually not a support, it's offlane because if you put IO and Earthshaker as a support duo, it's sort of weird.
Do you think Secret are considering Disruptor as a combo with Darkseer and a counter to Wisp right now? As their potential 5th pick, already thinking about that when they get the DS, and that they figured that if they pick Disruptor first, Darkseer will probably get banned?
You know, I'm thinking maybe Enigma as well, like if you want to counter the relocate.
I think Secret just don't really like playing that anymore.
Yeah. It's a good...
They very rarely pick junglers.
It's
They
very
did pick a
rare.
Chen yesterday,
Right.
actually. So
Yeah,
maybe
we do see
they're
it
on the
banned
way
now.
back with jungle. That's true. It actually got banned against them this time around, so it's possible.
What other heroes that are it's really good to counteract the relocate that Secret plays as a support position? We haven't seen Sanking a lot, and we have. I don't think we have ever seen Disruptor from Secret. I don't recall.
They've done AA Disruptor before, but it's not common from them at all.
I think they need something that can follow up after the vacuum.
right.
Darkseid is going to initiate with vacuum, and you need someone to follow up with stun. There's got to be something, right, apart from the Shadowfin.
Yeah, Sanking and Disruptor make the most sense, I would say, in that regard. I mean, AA is still not out of the
Yeah,
question
and
either.
the thing is, they have no stuns though, but I guess it's Secret, so they don't really care about that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
actually,
you
they
did say
banned the
so.
Bane, so I guess they're expecting it to be a core Shaker, or they're scared of their own offlane Bane, which no other team plays. So it's probably
It's probably they're expecting the Earthshaker to be a core position.
it's gotta be. Is that a classic Yao offlane?
Yes.
Yeah, he does it
Okay.
quite a
Yeah.
fair bit.
So that's not really a hero-player combination that's very memorable for me. But
At this point, yeah, the Wyvern was open.
Oh yeah,
so
that's a Wyvern.
Wyvern would have been very good too.
Totally forgot about it.
Absolutely.
I
Okay.
mean, the cast is decent and has quite some synergy with the vacuum.
Mhm.
It's not something very common you say with vacuum, but
Right.
it does work.
And they instant picked it too. Like they didn't want to use any more bonus time. They were like, okay, maybe they were thinking they'll ban Wyvern, we get Witch Doctor. They already planned for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
The Darkseer, I expect him to do very well because since it's an IO, there's going to be IO Tiny. The other lanes will be 2-1-2, and Darkseer thrives in in a situation where it's only 2 heroes instead of 3.
What if LGD picks, say, Rubik, and they put Rubik Gyro top? Do you still think Darkseer will be fine if they put IO Tiny?
yeah,
in?
Rubik is going to be a problem. Yeah.
IO Tiny beats Shadow Fiend. But they can help Shadow Fiend with Dazzle or Witch Doctor. That's actually the nice thing about Secret's lineup is that both can help in mid.
They're actually
Okay,
going
that's-
for the.
That's another
disrupt-
good hero against
Disruptor.
Darkseer in lane, actually.
Yeah, you can glimpse the surge, so Darkseid has to be more careful in the lane in that regard.
I think Disruptor kind of can be a soft counter to the Grave too. We've been constantly looking for solutions to the Dazzle, and some people used to do like Doom and Glimpse. We've seen AA, but Disruptor is one of the good
Yeah,
ones.
I think it's a very good pick in the sense that it does another 2 things. It does well against co-op, and he's one of the few heroes that you can stand very far behind, and you are still able to disrupt the channeling ultimate from the Witch Doctor from a safe distance, because usually Witch Doctor is very far behind as well, so it's difficult to reach him, but with Glimpse, there's always a chance that you can still cancel his ultimate.
All right, so in this case, disregarding the fact that it is Team Secret, are we favoring LGD's draft a little bit more then? Just it seems like, of course, they had their plan not disrupted as much as Secret did in the draft.
I think it's pretty even, and in a way, you could say pressures on LGD to shut down the Shadow Fiend, I think. If they just let Shadow Fiend free farm, I think this is actually not a bad Shadow Fiend game. When he gets BKB, the LGD lineup doesn't have that hard single target damage early on. So
All right.
I would call it even.
Okay, well, we'll see how both teams execute it again. Game 1 of possibly the best matchup we have in Group A right now. It is LGD versus Team Secret.
TI5 itself. As far as which teams you're looking at and worried about moving forward, it's like LGD, Secret, and EG. These, to me, are the big three right now here at TI5.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe let's just see here. We're welcoming in the live stream. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Secret versus LGD. Huge match here in Group A with massive implications for the main event. Should either team win this 2-0, very likely to finish first in Group A. And with that, would get to choose their opponent in the winner's bracket. You win that one match at the main event, you're guaranteed top 6. You're guaranteed over $1 million in prize money at the International 2015. So let's get into it here. We're going to see Secret going back to their DAC picks, the Queen of Pain Shadow Fiend, the big AoE controllers, LGD, with something they ran on day 1, the Tiny IO. So excited to see how this works out, and already getting ready for the rune spawns here. Seems like LGD want the bottom rune, probably going to be the ones to snag it, and it'll be Secret taking the top.
Yeah, Queen of Pain S4 gets Vigilant. Both teams were fairly defensive with their just positioning at level 1. We didn't see any kind of rotations towards the enemy jungle or any kind of early first blood attempts. So Secret especially were just like huddled by their Ancients, not willing to venture out at all. But we'll see how things work out here. Arteezy going to have the rough lane against the IO Tiny, and that's where Kuro, for now, just blocking the mid lane for him, but I think we'll even see Kuro just kind of hang around and help out as much as possible.
Yeah, leaving Shadow Fiend alone against this dual lane is scary. They can just run at you, and if you're not far enough back as a Shadow Fiend, can easily give up a kill around, say, level 3 to 5. So with the Witch Doctor here, secure Arteezy's early farm, help him get that quick bottle out, and just ensure that he's able to get his early CS going. Can also go back, stack the jungle. I think it's definitely the right move here. The Queen of Pain doesn't need help, and Darkseer getting the help that he will need against a Disruptor Gyro. As we were talking about during the draft, it's a scary lane if you just leave the Darkseer alone. If he ever gets glimpsed into Kinetic Field, he's dead to the Rocket Barrage follow-up. So
well,
Secret going with the dual lanes
Puppy's
here.
done his homework. He's been reading his stat stock, got the immediate D-ward off at top lane, finding Zhao Wei. Kind of an unconventional ward spot as well. It was like right near where the big camp was, and that helps out a lot. Darkseer really loves having that big camp available, and this will make their life a lot easier. Just he's constantly harassing and keeping Zhao Wei low on HP, already forcing out multiple tangos. So this offlane seems to be good for Secret.
And so far, looking at the CS here, a good start for Team Secret, but Zai takes a pounding from the Rocket Barrage, and Sylar sending a warning shot that if you play too aggressive in this top lane, they will make a move on you. There's a Grave, there's a heal, but even through that, you can often run these heroes down, find those early kills with the... We should probably take a look here at the bottom lane quickly. It looks to be an S4 favored lane heavily so. Queen of Pain versus the Solo Shaker. But Yao is getting his early levels, already hits 3, and definitely not expected to dominate this one, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I like that Secret's move is just to not give him any support whatsoever in the safe lane S4. They just say, look, he can crush Earthshaker on his own. Supports helping out mid lane, helping out top lane. MM-wise, got to be a bit careful. Did get the rune, but taking quite a bit of damage here from the Arteezy harass.
Yeah, you can see a little extra investment by Secret in trying to control this middle lane. Not just the dual lane, but even bringing in that top support of Puppy on the Dazzle to either secure the rune or at least put some harassment the way of LGD. And there has been a lot of stacking already, gods, both in the Radiant and Dire big camps. With the IO, no surprises. With the Shadow Fiend, Darkseer, also no surprises. We may not, this looks like a game that could be a bloodbath early or could very easily just turn into a very long-term economy game with both teams really looking to maximize their farm. It's just going to come down to whether or not the teams are finding their openings.
Yeah. One of the big kind of where the forks that LGD can take is whether or not they get the Blink Dagger on Tiny. If they get any kind of an early game advantage, I think he'll go for it and try and just snowball from there finding kills. But if it really feels like it's a bit of a stalemate or Secret is slightly ahead, he'll play the farm game and look for the Aghanim Scepter as his first item. We've seen a bit of both coming out from IO Tinies, and it really depends on the tempo the game is going.
He's really not farming right now is the worry. As Avalanche comes out, won't connect on anything. Couldn't have gone even if it did with Kuro ready to back up Arteezy, but the CS on this Tiny is leaving quite a bit to be desired. Only 5 creeps. Arteezy sitting at 19 and 8. As expected, Queen of Pain crushing the bottom lane for S4, 19 and 10. And even the offlane Darkseer of Zai sitting a towards the top of the CS charts, 15-1. So dare I say it, gods, they are winning 2 lanes convincingly, and the third, they're getting more than you would normally expect out of a Darkseer off lane, thanks to Puppey's support.
Absolutely. This is where this Queen of Pain Shadow Fiend opening is so strong. I think Secret kind of took advantage of the fact that they know they like to run weak laning heroes in the offlane for Yao. Yao doesn't get the kind of dual lane support that a lot of offlaners get this tournament. He's normally down there by himself on an Earthshaker, on a Tusk, on a Clockwork, and Secret's plan was just to
Early
win the
skirmish.
lane.
Here we go. Could be the first blood. Arteezy looking for the openings here. There is a Grave available, and he's going to commit onto maybe. He finds him. Puppey protecting the Shadow Fiend, and now MMY the trade. The chase goes on, and what do you know? A surge forward. He does get glimpsed back. Shao 8 will survive, but mid lane left in shambles. A 2-for-0, and on top of the early creep advantage, Secret are already in full control of this game.
Absolutely. This is close to 3 lanes won. I guess the top lane's still a bit of a stalemate and just a draw between the Darkseer and the Gyrocopter, both of which are farming. But this is going to be tricky. This is not like LGD have a lot of easy ways to turn this game around. Around the time Gyro hits level 7, you can start involving him in fights around the top rune, around the mid lane as needed. But it's not an easy hero to roam with unless you're also bringing the Earthshaker. At that point, LGD are forced to 5-man much earlier than they'd like to, and Secret will just say, well, you want to 5-man, we're going to play the economy game and just out-farm you.
And if you 5-man into Secret once they get their core items, that can easily work against you. You've got the early mech likely coming out here for Zai. Maybe Arteezy the one to pick it up, but either way, they'll have some team fight in short order. And Secret keep the lane pressured mid lane. There is aggression here. Fissure coming in. Avatos, they finally get a kill. Kuroki not able to save Arteezy. That was much needed. Nice rotation from Yao, and considering how tough this bottom lane is, might as well look for the plays elsewhere. Yeah. There was a Radiant Observer ward in the areas. We're going to see a battle of D wards here, but that hill ward about to expire. It's already done its work, and well, they might get the extra 50 gold out of this. Nope, not even that. Kuro says no.
Denied. But yeah, that's the kind of place Yao likes to make in general, and it's just unfortunately at the cost of, like, there's been a solo hero getting complete free farm. Queen of Pain topping the CS charts by a big margin, so we'll see what LGD's next move's going to be. But Yao's going to want to keep on getting involved, I feel. He doesn't want to just sit idly leeching experience in this bottom lane.
You mentioned the Gyrocopter moving, and maybe we don't normally see it from Sylar is the thing. We did see it. We've seen it more with Maybe. It definitely feels like with the introduction of Maybe to LGD that Sylar has not, he's no longer really the one-position player. Maybe much more reminiscent of how Arteezy was on EG, where he might have gone mid at times and even play like the iconic solo mid heroes or dual lane mid heroes, but was really the carry player for EG. And it feels like maybe he's taken over that role, which is where you'd like to see that aggressive style of Gyrocopter this game. Get Sylar involved early, go for the smoke ganks, maybe give a support the lane top, but it's tough to do that when you see the constant pressure. And Arteezy, he's found the stacks, not only Shao 8, but also a gigantic pile of creeps. This is something LGD have to protect.
Yeah.
This is way too much gold to give away. And they are moving in. With the call down onto Arteezy, they want to go, but Zai's able to zone him back. The Raze will miss. Fissure blocking off a few. They try to isolate Kuro, but they can't bring him down. The heal is enough. He survives. One last range creep auto attack. Can't get the job done. There's your earn charge. He
LGD
will
need
survive.
To 5-man this
They're
neutral stack.
5-manning their own neutrals, and they need it, but it's too late. Arteezy's already stolen half of them, and he's going to get more. Only 2 big creeps survive the slaughter. They need Arteezy. Ava, toss, Fissure, they get the kill. S4 even blinks into it, but the Queen of Pain ult to turn it. Maybe. Neutral's not poking him. He barely makes his way out of this one. And Sylar does find S4 on the backside. They get the 2 fattest cores on Secret. They do miss most of the neutral kit, but at least get some experience. That was definitely a salvage for LGD out of what looked like a terrible situation.
Absolutely, and you can't even, like, that's the right play to go for Secret. Arteezy in the front lanes, if they get the Grave off, that doesn't go as one-sided as it kind of ended up going in LGD's favor. It was very much the burst damage of LGD just catching Puppey a little bit by surprise and a rare miss on the Grave. Arteezy was, I think, banking on having it to back him up there, and
if he gets Grave there, they get slaughtered, honestly.
He can continue to, like, his raises were coming up any second, so during that Grave, he's throwing 2-3 raises, and LGD are losing heroes.
Well, LGD, this game could have snowballed totally out of control, but they are able to stay in it with that fight, and they make it a pretty close game. 1,000 gold lead for Secret, only about a 1250 experience lead, and so much of the game plan is going to hinge on Maybe. What's the item build here? For now, he picks up the completed treads, it looks like, bringing out the magic wand as well for MMY in short order. But does he skip the blink at this point? There's a lot of squishy targets, but they're going to get tankier quickly. The Shadow Fiend normally getting some plus stats items early, and potentially we even see S4 go for that early BKB or Ags, and at which point the blink could backfire. If you don't get those kills, you may not really get much value out of it.
TZ already committed to the Yoga Club, so he'll be rushing BKB with Zai being able to go for the mech. And as you said, they're looking for early stats, early just survivability, and that's where a Blink Dagger on Tiny will kind of come maybe at a time where it's not going to be able to get the easy kills that you'd hope for.
He's not snowballing by any means, but let's go. Secret, their turn to move. They smoke up, Arteezy leading the way, and they think about heading straight towards the bottom lane. Instead, they're going to wrap around here, moving towards the Roshan pit. May try to get a ward up. Yao very low HP, and should he go down, that is the majority of their strong tower defense gone. Just the Ancients warded for now.
Okay.
We've seen a lot of teams forget about the Ancients. There was a couple of games that come to mind. Secret was playing one game where Arteezy was Templar Assassin, the Dire side, farmed a quad stack with a double damager, and suddenly was totally out of control. I believe that was the game where he had an Aegis and got a triple kill after respawning with like a single Deso Daedalus crit. So a couple Bristleback games as well. Ancients are definitely something you want to keep an eye on here. And it might seem like a big commitment using the smoke for that, but considering there's a Tiny Wisp and a Gyrocopter in this game, may allow Secret to pull ahead if they're just looking to play the farm game here.
And also the fact they didn't put the ward above the Roche pit on that big cliff means they don't really care about pushing this bottom tier 1 tower, because they could have easily put that ward down and used that vision advantage over the trees, over the bottom tier 1 to apply pressure down here. But Puppey even had 2 wards, so he could have blocked the Ancients and warded. It says, nope, we don't care about it. We're going to play our game, sit back, wait till we get our items, and then use our item advantage to be able to take down towers with an Orchid on Queen of Pain, with a BKB on SF. They're not going to rush things.
It's LGD's turn to smoke. They bypass the double damager, and there's no Radiant Vision of it, so they could have gone for it, but they didn't realize. As Zai narrowly misses breaking the smoke, he is going to, but it's in an awkward position. Fissure comes through. He's on the right side of it, but doesn't matter. Too much burst damage. Meanwhile, mid lane, MMY's Io was picked off by Arteezy as the trade.
Yeah, they went in on
the Witch Doctor also drops.
Yeah.
So a 2 for 1.
Io Tiny killed Witch Doctor, Queen of Pain TP'd in and got a counter kill.
They want Arteezy. Maybe just jumping forward. He's going to get the toss back into Sylar. That's
combo.
not where you want to be if you're a Shadow Fiend. Oh, into his waiting arms. A hail of rockets will end Arteezy. LGD showing some excellent aggression here and making up for a slow farming laning stage with some really nice movements here at the 11-minute mark.
Yeah, kills on Shadow Fiend especially valuable. He's topping the net worth chart well over about 1,000 net worth ahead of the Gyrocopter and even more ahead of the Tiny of Maybe. So important kills going LGD's way.
Yeah, these are farmed cores. You get those kills early, and it really does equalize things.
Ooh,
They TP in the gyro. They're going to relocate forward, maybe, finding the Avatos directly up and down, but there's a grave from Kuro, from Puppey to try and turn this. Now the death ward from Kuro driving them back. LGD forced to disengage. They may leave the Tiny here. Now they're just going to back off towards mid and go farming. Still they chase onto Puppey. They know the Grave's on cooldown. They might be able to make a play here. The Rocket Barrage coming through. He can't get out. Fissure cuts off any chance at retreat, but wasn't even needed in the end. LGD taking the fight to Secret, who meanwhile are pushing top with Zai, it looks like. Seems like Secret are waiting on their first round of key items at this point. The mech on Zai about to come out. That's the type of item that can turn a fight like that one we just saw bottom.
This is LGD willing to commit as many heroes as possible to make sure fights and just early objectives kind of go their way. In this case, it's just been a few kills here or there. The Disruptor glimpse back on Shadow Fiend there as he TP'd in, very crucial. But for Secret, they're much more about splitting their resources, getting farm on all 5 of their heroes. They're known for having really farm supports. In this case, it was the Darkseid pushing a Tier 1 tower in the off lane, working towards his mech. And Secret aren't going to be too worried about losing a Dazzle bottom there when it's LGD 5-manning and they're getting stuff elsewhere on the map.
This bottom lane looks a little dangerous. No TP on Kuro. S4 doesn't want to leave him alone to the Wolves. And now out the Courier flies. It is bringing a TP, so he'll have that option. They even have to rotate a third hero in Puppey, but already LGD, they're satisfied with what they got. They back off. Sylar completing the drums, going for that utility early pressure build that we see from a lot of Gyrocopters now, and leaving way for Maybe to be the hard carry. And now decision time comes, gods. 13 minutes in. It's basically a dead even game here. Only a 1,500 gold lead for Secret. Does he want the Blake? Yes, sir, he does. What do you think? Is this going to work out?
Yeah, it seems to suit maybe his playstyle more. It allows him to be aggressive, go for kills, and as much as he does play more of that one position now as far as farm priority goes over Sylar, he loves to be involved in any and all action. It's the LGD way. If there's a fight going on, all 5 of your heroes are there, so gives him that initiation. Unfortunately, the window for using this item while Arteezy doesn't have BKB is quickly ending. Arteezy now just a couple hundred away, actually has BKB money, so that means it's not going to be quite as potent for killing him, but if anything, he wants to blow up the Dazzle. He wants to blow up the Witch Doctor. If you go on someone else, they're going to get graved and kept alive. If you can find a Dazzle or a Witch Doctor, that's an insta-KO.
Meanwhile, Secret want to fight around the mech that's been freshly purchased by Zai. Now up to another 700 gold. They don't have the level 2 Queen of Pain ult just yet, and they are rotating 4 all the way through the middle lane. They may run into maybe in a bad position here. 3 in the river. Blink back out. Well, the Blink coming in handy there. Now it's MMY's turn to run, but they don't have a tier 1 top. They get a little bit of vision. He's got a haste run. They both can escape here. LGD wasting a lot of Secret's time, and it looks like they should get out with no casualties. One more blink into the trees. The TP out. He's got it. Not using it just yet. They're holding for a relocated. They may even go in on Kuro, who's run right by MMY. The haste is there. The cast not going to bounce, and the commitment. Tether's back. They look to engage. The mech is in play, though. This could completely turn the fight. Not sure if LGD got their eyes on it before the fight broke out. Maybe a danger as well. For the backside comes Yao, rushing in with Sylar together. The call down doing work. Zai about to drop his ult. A double off the bat for Sylar. S4 forced to blink away. They get the tiny but heavy cost for that one, Gods. 3 heroes down, including the Darkseer, who just completed his mech. And meanwhile, Arteezy looking for the trade as he goes from the tower mid. He's got a BKB Requiem this one. He does do a lot of damage. Brings down MMY, not respecting the Requiem, and they even gets the tower as well. When the dust settles, not a terrible trade for Secret, although it looked pretty bad at first.
Yeah, it looked bad at first. Great flank coming from LGD. Io and Tiny bought so much time for backup to arrive. Unfortunately, they still lose the Tiny there. Io trying to heal him up with the tether and the overcharge, but just couldn't quite block enough of the damage there. So didn't go as well as LGD would have hoped for, considering they had kind of positional advantage. They got Io and Tiny out of there. They figured out exactly where Secret had 4 heroes, but they couldn't keep Tiny alive, and then they lose that Wisp as well as T1 Tower mid. Means Arteezy is suddenly looking fantastic. He's got 1,300 gold after the BKB, 2,000 net worth ahead of Sylar's Gyrocopter. He is really out of control.
And not even mentioning the Tiny in this game, which we have seen Tinies in the past historically. They've been Eggs by now. They're clearing big Ancient stacks. By no means the case for Maybu. Still feels rather far behind to fight, despite all the fights that he has been involved in. As we just saw, the Earthshaker of Yao, this could be the next big item for LGD. He's just about picked up the Blink. In fact, just purchased it. And he is level 8 now, so he's got 2 points in the Aftershock here. But it almost feels like LGD have to fight right now. If they want to play the farm game, they don't really have the farming items. No Helm of the Dominator on the Gyrocopter of Sylar, no Ags on the Tiny. And Shadow Fiend alone is just going to be able to turbo farm way more than these heroes.
Yeah, I don't think you want to get into a full-on farming game against Team Secret right now. Queen of, you've got a window, especially before Queen of Pain really finishes any major item. S4 going to be going for, it looks like Hex, not the Orchid. I think just recognizing that both, I mean, Gyro, Tiny, both going to be BKB carries, and the Orchid is just isn't going to be coming in a timely fashion for S4.
It's so good against Wisp as well. Tries to go for the defensive relocates. If you find the Wisp, oh, there's your Blake in. But Puppey with the quick grave. He was ready for this one. They're going to glimpse him on back. Is there going to be a kinetic field follow-up? Fissure blocking Puppey away, but it should be enough with... Nope, there's the mech. Zai will bail him out. Very nicely played by Secret. Good defensive retreat, and they dodge a bullet. It does force a 4-hero rotation bottom, which allows LGD to put a little extra pressure mid, but look who's wrapping around with an Invis rune. It's Arteezy coming from the north. No sentries in sight. This could be a total disaster for LGD. Let's see if he finds the opening here. He's got the BKB as well. Only a toss to really do anything about it. Oh, but right as he moves, an MMY just happened to be tethering away with Sylar. They have a toss. They engage with the Fissure.
Echo?
He doesn't get off the BKB. Yeah, was ready with the Blink Echo. That is another costly death for Arteezy, who continues to farm out of control, but so much of the value he's gaining is being given right back to LGD by these kills.
Yeah, just kind of weird timing where Arteezy shows himself as the Wisp tethers out. He's thinking, okay, if he's not tethering, I can maybe just quickly double raise him, get a quick kill. And then the combo from LGD to kill him. He had no chance to BKB. Unless he preemptively BKBs as soon as Tiny's in range before he blinks, but that's just like not really efficient BKB usage. So LGD just capitalizing on maybe a small mistake from Arturo.
And it's something you've talked about so often when we've cast together, is that Earthshaker is such a good counter for BKBs. Even though they block pretty much all of the damage from his ultimate, it's the instant stun that can just give you fits as a hero like a Shadow Fiend.
When there's that one carry hero, I mean, everyone's seen the famous Envy clip where it's like he's yelling at his Earthshaker just to blink Echo Slam the enemy Gyrocopter. This is the hero. You can instantly just KO and cause so much problems with that blink ulti, killing off enemy cores. In this case, it's going to be the Shadow Fiend of Arteezy who's going to be the main target of the Earthshaker. Yeah, there's a Grave Sting behind him, but the beauty of this is after the Echo Slam, you have a Fissure. So that Fissure's always going to be headed the direction where Dazzle's waiting for the Grave. So potentially, you don't even get that Grave off.
Well, completed BKB on the way for Sylar. Courier flying out now, I believe. Yeah, there you go. And with that, he gets a whole lot tankier. And the difference for Secret is until they get that Hex, they don't have the same level of blow a hero up potential. This is going to allow LGD to 5-man if they'd like.
We talked about maybe playing more of a one position, but this is one of a game where he's actually not really fulfilling that role. He went back and completed drums. It's been Sylar who's actually getting more of the farm this game than the Tiny.
It seems like the way the flow of the game is developing, LGD feel like they can just fight Secret. They've been winning most of the skirmishes. I think it's confidence more than anything. We could farm, and we have great late game, but let's just do what's working. Let's keep on punching and make Secret come to us. They are moving in like they want to go. There's an Observer Ward scouting out Arteezy, but a lot of backup for him. LGD, they might be confident in some of the fights, but this would be a full 5v5 clash, so they want to approach it just right. Maybe moving in from the north, Secret positioned quite well behind the tower. They drop an Observer through the tree line, so not going to be spotted by LGD here, and it's out of range of the Sentry in the woods.
They were waiting out the Echo Slam, which just comes back
Here
up. Comes
the smoke. This could be tough, though. Sylar, a tough hero to initiate on. They don't have the best lockdown to prevent that BKB, and there is the threat of a Shaker counterplay with Arteezy and S4 showing like this, and nobody else on the map. LGD are going to back off and force Secret to show themselves.
Yeah, so I don't think Secret can make much. And good point you mentioned that. Secret, I mean, this is kind of a classic draft. They don't actually draft normally around having a lot of control and disables, but there's no way for them to really jump Gyrocopter and kill him, preventing a BKB. They haven't got like a Blink Lion Hex. They haven't got a Blink Echo Slam from an Earthshaker. They only have Witch Doctor cast, which, well, you see coming. You can easily dodge it. That's where S4 is going for this Hex Rush as well. This is going to be the way they can actually gank and take out these of core heroes.
Puppey, not where he wants to be. Avalanche toss, dunked by Maybe. That was just too easy. He thought he was safe with the Observer Ward as well as the Sentry, but guess what? The Sentry is just out of range of the Dire Observer, and bit unfortunate there for Puppey. Ends up going down, but already Secret looking for the trade. Arteezy pressuring the mid lane, forcing out a quick glyph. This is before LGD even starts hammering on that tier 1 bottom, and just good at making the best out of a bad situation is Secret in general, and we see it again here. Not even going for the tower bottom. LGD felt like they could have taken that freely, but because of Arteezy's counterplay mid, they're forced to back off.
Arteezy's in a really deep position. We'll find a courier. No, he won't find the courier.
They have a glimpse. There's your initiation again from Yao. They go in with the dunk. The Grave from Puppey could turn this. No, he didn't get it off in time. Oh, he could have Grave first, but he went for the weave instead. It's going to cost him heavily, as LGD now can go down mid for a tier 1, even a better tower to take than that tower in the bottom lane. And no way Secret can defend this without their Queen of Pain.
Yeah, Turu went off like to the Dire Secret shop trying to snipe a courier while that was going on. I actually thought he was maybe in a bad position to get caught out by another Blink Echo Slam or Tiny combo, but LGD find a key pick off, get a tower out of it. This is one of the, to me, this is the best team in the tournament when it comes to just taking objectives. They're so good at turning a kill, or even not even a kill. They just find, they force their opponents to move around the map and rotate and just create space for towers to drop. They're just really good at, it's kind of 5-manning a lot of the time, but they do it in such a way where they never really put themselves in harm's way.
And they have been catching up as far as the farm goes on the back of those objectives. It's not like all they're doing is 5-manning. The Gyrocopter of Sylar, only 30 CS behind Arteezy, which is a much smaller percentage difference than what we saw earlier. Even in the case of Maybe's Tiny, he's not quite there with the enemy Darkseer, and certainly not with Arteezy's Shadow Fiend, but he is catching up nicely here, Gods, and once he gets the Ags, the farm will accelerate. Yep. Suddenly Sylar with 3,000 gold, maybe closing in on the Aghanims, and here we go mid, looking for the jump. There's 5. Avatos to start. They're going to relocate in the Wisp, joined by the Gyrocopter of Sylar, who immediately rushes in. The Death Ward's going to punish that IO off the bat. It's Sylar next. It's a full duration Death Ward, only now canceled out by the Fissure of Yao, but it took too long, and 3 end up falling on the back of it. Kuro making the plays here for Secret. Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, just Secret were in position. This is how the fights are meant to go for Secret. Arteezy on the front lines with the Grave protection, and they throw everything at Arteezy. They didn't have anything left to cancel that Death Ward, and a BKB Gyrocopter on the front lines is not as scary as you'd hope for when you're tanking a full duration Death Ward.
You've got the minus armor coming out from the now max Shadow Fiend passive. The Death Ward does a lot of work, and the weave starts to tick in over the course of these fights. So something LGD will have to respect, and this may give them pause in the upcoming team fights. And we see Secret, although it's not a reliable team fight, if they get it off, it is every bit as devastating as LGD's.
Yeah, I think that's going to be kind of an awakening for LGD. Like, okay, this Death Ward is actually a big problem. Because of all that minus armor you mentioned from the Shadow Fiend and the Dazzle, you have to make sure that Death Ward isn't on Sylar during his BKB. Otherwise, he's going to melt because he's fairly squishy to the physical damage. Already he's got to worry about the Shadow Fiend right clicks. You don't want to have him worrying about a Death Ward as well.
Maybe just marching into the enemy woods right past a Radiant Observer. He has eyes on Puppey, who backs off here. Yeah, this is a bold maneuver.
It's like there's no Requiem.
He doesn't have, only now
no
is anybody
wall.
even in the neighborhood, but no BKB, just counting on quick reactions with the blink should anyone go his way. Mid lane, meanwhile, a bit too tanky, courtesy of the Buckler, and MMY's done a pretty good job of keeping up his far in this game on the Wisp. Considering how the game started, mech almost complete now. That armor will definitely help versus Secret, maybe even more so than the heal that we normally look at the mech for.
Yeah, that last fight, if he had a mech, could have gone very differently. Because at the start of the fight, he tanked a lot of damage, almost was able to heal himself back up and stay alive, but just couldn't quite do it. So, nice item choice from him. Gyrocopter going to be going for Butterfly, which will help deal with a lot of the physical damage output. It not only gives him the evasion, but also just a little boost to his armor because of all the agility you get. So, very important item choice coming out. Even if Sylar's not going to have the most insane damage output, this is going to be far more useful.
And just gives you a lot of bonus armor as well through the agility, which is going to help against the physical damage as the game moves along. So the Scythe of Ice for S4, we haven't seen it yet, Gods, but it's only 200 gold away, and this could be big. With this, the IO that we saw die rather quickly last fight may just die before the fight even commences. Let's see if he's able to farm it and what kind of impact it has. That's the kind of playmaking item that they don't really have when it comes to abilities for that instant initiation.
Yeah, they really need it against the BKB carries especially. And Tiny doesn't have one now, but, you know, at some point he's kind of making his way towards one either after his Assault Cuirass or even as his next item after the Yags. You need to have a late game Hex, otherwise they have no control whatsoever for LGD.
This is not a very farm Tiny though, and in fact, nobody particularly farmed this game. There's just been so much fighting, good creep scores around the board, but a lot of deaths for pretty much every core. You've got 4 on the Shadow Fiend, 2 on the Tiny, who isn't quite there in terms of the farm department, and as a result, Heroes taking a bit longer to head towards their big, beefy items that come out in the mid to late game.
Yeah.
But we see defensive postures from both teams. Hiding in the trees, the Earthshaker of Yao to the south, back in the Dire jungle, MMY just sitting behind Sylar. Everybody knows a bad fight here is going to give up a Roche to the enemy squad. And with that, you mentioned how good LGD is at taking objectives. Secret is definitely one of the best teams in the tournament in that department as well. And they're going to try for something here. It's a smoke gambit. Moving straight into Roche. They may just try to sneak it straight up.
Yeah.
And there's actually no Dire vision anywhere nearby. But everybody's missing as well for the Dire. And they have a deep ward here towards bottom. There's even a ping coming out right now from maybe. They may make the move on the pit, but it's going to be a quick Roche. Medallion brings this low. Arteezy should be prepared to grab this Aegis up. He gets bashed at the wrong moment. They may even just jump in blindly. If they did, they'd have eyes here. Oh, they're too late. The fissure just split second slow. Shao 8 almost got them vision with that kinetic field, but wasn't quite in time. If that took 3 to 4 seconds longer, LGD may have just gone in with guns a-blazing.
Yeah, it was a clever Roshan too, because neither team's really been in a position to take Roshan all game long. Even then, Secret weren't in a position to take Roshan by like
They did it anyway.
Yeah, they did anyways. It was like a Cloud9 style Roche where they smoke in and try and use the fact that it's a surprise to not get detected. And LGD kind of figured out eventually, but by then it was too late. Similarly, LGD have not been in a position to go for Roshan, despite having 2 decent physical damage carries in Tiny and Gyrocopter. They just have, neither team can really put themselves in that position where they're in the pit and you've got a big initiating heroes in like the Darkseid, the Earthshaker, who can just get the jump on you.
With the Aegis, let's see what Secret look to do here. Maybe just farming out the bottom lane. Arteezy swinging towards top. He has opted for a Sanjin Yasha after the BKB. Looks like he's just tanking up against the burst damage. as much as possible.
They're grouping up as 5 at top secret.
They are looking to fight here. The butterfly's just been picked up by Sylar. He's been hexed instantly. There's the reveal. Quick relocate out by Momaya. He was ready for that. They will lose the Wisp, most likely, but well worth it to save the gyrocopter.
Yeah. Spend your money. Oh, it's all on.
And I believe that was also the reveal of the Hex as well from S4.
Yeah, unless maybe they scattered it in Roshan or something, but
they're going to push on. With no Wisp, no buyback for 40. LGD most likely just counter push here.
Yep.
They've already got bottom lane.
No.
Maybe's Tiny barreling towards the tier 2.
They'll pressure mid, pressure bottom. This is not too bad a position to be in for LGD. They'll have to give up their tier 2 top, but they can get some damage on bottom, get some damage on mid.
Unfortunately, it's a Tiny, so this doesn't take very long.
Yeah,
here.
they're actually pushing just as fast the bottom lane as the top lane's being pushed by Secret. So
let's see, is there a Dire Glyph available here? They do have one.
They want to save it for the high ground, I think, because there's a legitimate. Here comes Secret. They're going to force TPs back by poking at the tier 3 tower and maybe even look to commit to a high ground siege here.
How does Secret get in here? They do have the Blink Hex capabilities. They get some eyes on Arteezy, throwing out a homing missile. Ideally, they'd love to bait out that BKB, but Secret will just calmly focus the missile down. And now they've got the IO of MMY back. No relocate just yet, though it should be cooling down in relatively short order. 1 second and counting. And now they go. On Arteezy, doesn't BKB. Very patient. I feel a lot of carry players in that position would just panic, insta BKB, and then any chance of pressure is over for over a minute. But
and good play from LGD. You've got to just use that combo, get SF down to half HP, because that's how you're going to stall the push. He doesn't want to throw his Aegis away for nothing, so you have to just get whatever free damage you can on that Aegis pushing carry. And Secret decide, well, they're just going to keep doing that. We're going to back off. Otherwise, we're kind of wasting our time here. As much as they'd like to be able to get a tier 3 tower and racks with this Aegis, once LGD had 5 alive again, it just wasn't going to be possible.
It feels like Secret are about to hit a really good timing. Kuroki has the level 2 Death Ward. He's almost completed the Ags. Somehow Kuroki always finds this farm. I mean, you look at the hero that he's on, and it doesn't feel like a Witch Doctor should be able to farm the way some of Kuro's other signature heroes do, but somehow he always finds a way. And with that Ags, the level 2 Weave also in play, all the minus armor they have through the Death Ward, and Arteezy about to get his next big item up to 4.3k. That could be the opportunity to go for a high ground push. But now Xiao8 caught out. This is big if they can find him. He glimmers and tries to run away. They have detection, and they will bring him down. Quick pick there for LGD. And it's going to be up to, for Secret, and it's going to be up to LGD to back off. Yao gets caught mid. Oh, this is the one they can't afford. Losing to support's one thing, but Yao's dead for 45, and Gods, he doesn't have a buyback. Good news is mid lane has been shoved deep towards the tower.
Yeah, I feel like both those pickoffs a bit sloppy from LGD. And the first one was just good Secret response. As soon as they see the dewarding happening, they take the jump. But Yao, he knew where they were. He knew they could just blink and get to him quickly, but didn't really respect the initiating power of Secret.
It's the Scythe of Vice. It's been the difference maker here. Top lane, Vac Wall thrown out
canceled a TP
to discourage LGD, and that means they'll be lacking a hero for the base
Neither
defense.
hero has TP.
Creeps are coming in right now. They're going to raise up the top lane and focus on mid. It looks like Sylar sprinting back. Fortunately, he's got the butterfly, activates it immediately, but he may not have evasion for this upcoming fight. We'll see if it cools down in time. Arteezy, there's the Thunderstrike onto him. Respawning in a moment is Yao, and they do get eyes on Sylar. The Hex again, they've trapped him outside the base. Puppey was expecting the walk back, and Sylar tries to run. He's even committed a BKB, but the Queen of Paydon, and right-clicks from the Shadow Fiend of Arteezy, enough to bring him down. Again and again, Secret finding the picks, and all of it on the back of this Scythe of Vice from S4. What a difference this pickup has made.
That and the vision too. Like first they canceled the TP back at top, and he had to walk back to base. He walks past Ward, so
there's your
Blink
Fissure.
Hex and you're
They're going to
done
go
for.
now. Avatos on Arteezy, trying to stall this out, but he just stands and continues to deliver. Now a completed Eye of Scotty up, muscling his way in towards the LGD base, and they're able to force out a very crucial buyback. And again, the Hex catches out MMY. He's going to die on the backsides. They need something for this, but the Death Ward of Kuro's going. They've got no way to stun him. Finally, they'll disable it. LGD self-destructing, known for their composure in most games. Not having it here. Secret just finding opening after opening, chunking down Sylar next, driving him back into the base, and they won't let him escape. That's a dieback on the gyro. It's an ultra for Arteezy, and it might just be game right here, right now. Again, the Graves, the plays, Secret crushing through. They bring down maybe as well, and they're going to heal up Arteezy. He's feeling confident, swags towards the well, and they get the GG. Secret, so many outplays in a series of 3 to 5 minutes, when before then it was back and forth, dead even. All of a sudden, the switch flips, and it's all Secret all the way.
Yeah, it was 28 minutes, 29 minutes of just dead even Dota. And from that Roshan sneak onwards, Secret just outplayed them, found pick after pick. First the Disruptor at the Ancients, then they found Yao in the mid lane, then they prevented the TP's top during the split push, and then suddenly everything just fell apart. Piece by piece, the dominoes just crumbled, and yeah, LGD, they played a hell of a game. Like, they can look back on this and be like, yeah, 28, 29 minutes, we played that flawlessly. That was where we wanted things to be with this draft, with our game plan, but
It really seems clear the discussion in the war room for LGD is going to be the draft was fine, the early laning stage wasn't great, but it was fine, good enough. The mid-game execution was good. We just did not have it in those key fights. We just got outplayed.
They kind of just, yeah, a bit of a choke nerve, whatever it may be. That, like, 1 to 2 minutes just cost them, and it was still a good showing from LGD, but Secret just on another level as far as decision-making.
All right, well, with that, we'll hand it back to the three Merlinis and see what they have to say.
Well, I don't I don't know how
I'm
much you
one of
guys have
them.
to say. Oh, okay. So you're one of them. Well, then what am I? I'm just sitting here.
No, you're
Am I
the
just
second
sitting?
one.
I'm the
And
second.
Winter's the third.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry. I keep getting confused. But I mean, I think the commentators. I was just thinking, like, what did happen in that game? And to me, I fully agree with the commentators. It just seemed like LGD just slipped up at the very end there in the very last few minutes, so to speak. Ben, what do you think about that game?
I think it happened before the Roshan fight. It was that mid T2 fight where they thought they could actually kill RTZ, and then they didn't have enough to stop the death ward. And then they lost like 3 heroes. Gyro just picked his BKB. And generally, once you pick out your BKB, you're like, okay, we want to fight. But they actually got wrecked there. And then the few seconds timing at that Roshan, if they were there 2 seconds before, it could have been a completely different outcome.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the early parts of the game as we continue talking. Winter, early on, I mean, as the commentators are saying,
More Blink in the trees,
LGD
the
definitely
TP
nothing
out,
to
he's
feel
got
too
it.
bad about in
Not
the
using
early
it
phase
just
of the
yet, but
game, and
holding for a
they did
relocate.
seem
They
to
may even go on
be
Kuro.
able to, I mean,
He's run
select
right
their
by
targets
MM1.
quite well.
The Haze
Look
is
at the
one.
mini-map.
That's
They're
not
like
gonna
really
bounce.
far
Yeah,
away.
we-
They're so good at
They
buying
They are
time.
buying time, and
They look
we're
for
going
the
to see a
gaze.
very
The
big
mech is in
fissure
play,
here
though.
from
This
Yao.
could completely turn
He's
the
going to
fight.
come in from
Not
behind
sure
and drop a
LGD got
fissure, and they're
eyes
going to
on it
clean
for
the
fight
back
broke
line
out.
up.
Maybe a danger as well for the
Yeah,
backside
right
comes
there,
Yao.
this all turns
Rushing
back
in with
around.
Sylar to
And
get
he's
the
been
call
playing
out.
so well
Doing
in the
work.
early stages of the
Sylar
game. The
got the
Earthshaker
double
keeping his team together,
Sylar
being
gets
at the
the
right
double
place at the
for
right
Blink.
time. The Tiny didn't have a good start in the lane, and he relied on the Earthshaker to come into the middle lane, get some kills on the Shadowfiend, and get back on track. So I felt, early game-wise, Yao was the MVP for LGD.
Yeah.
It was interesting for me to see the super early laning stage Secret they made all the right calls with how they put their lanes and how they played in the first like 5 minutes of the laning stage. It looked like it was going to be really, really good for them. And then LGD have like 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 20, where they play really, really solidly. They
Right.
counter the movement. They plan well. They know what they want to accomplish. And I think they have in the back of their minds that should this go like minute 45 or 50, we're pretty good because we've got Gyro and Tiny, and the enemy cores are Queen of Pain and Shadowfiend, and then you've got like the wild card and the Witch Doctor Death Ward always. But generally, a lineup like theirs can counter it with like a Fissure, Toss, Avalanche. You know, they have a lot of ways to deal with it. But then the Roche is really the turning point of the game where Secret go for a pretty high risk, high reward play, and that it could have gone horribly wrong because Yao was standing next to the pit and he was wondering, should I go, should I not?
Right.
And if he sees the replay, he's like, why didn't I go? But you don't know, right? Because
No, he was actually hesitating as well. The moment where he was near the pit, he was like waiting for the sentry to come. Someone came over with a sentry towards the high ground area to make sure that Secret has no vision of him. That's why he was
Yeah.
very hesitant on going in. And then after that, the kinetic field came, but it was just
Right.
too late from LGD.
Yeah, so again, in hindsight, of course, you can regret it. But at the same time, in the heat of the moment,
Yeah.
plenty of reasons
Yeah,
why
he was
did
just
it.
like worried that there was vision.
I didn't like the way they approached the fights, though, LGD, that is. I think with the Wisp relocate, you need to be able to threaten their backline, especially with the BKB. I think they can like go in behind with Gyrocopter as well as Wisp and pick off either Dazzle or Witch Doctor or force a Grave out really early. And the way they went about it is just like Arteezy's like too big and bad in the front. Like once he gets off his Requiem, everyone's damage is like way too low. You can't actually kill him because of the Grave, and all the supports are very well fortified. And that's why they went for those pushes. They're like, okay, well, we know this is how LGD is going to react, and we can pick off their front line really easily, and they can't see our supports because we can hide in the fog. If they approach from behind, the supports have to reveal themselves, or the SF has to back off and make the supports reveal themselves, and the Secret just approached a team fight way too well.
All right, so let's take a quick look at the ending moments here of that game as we wrap up just our thoughts on game
What a
one.
difference this
Going
pickup
into
has
it, we
made.
said
That and the vision
possibly
too,
the
like,
best
first they
matchup of the
cancelled
group,
the
maybe
TV
even
back
of the
up,
whole
and he
group
had to walk
stage
back to base
coming in
and
in the
walk
first
so
week.
Click Hex and you're
After
gonna
that game one, I mean, again, it's not that LGD's draft was bad or anything, but do you think Secret just a little bit too concrete to battle against?
They are just so good at high grounding.
Yeah.
They're simply just flat out the best team at breaching high ground right now. It might be where they have the biggest advantage over their strongest opponents, and let's say it's LGD and EG right now. Secret are just better at ending the game. And it's the classic approach, Arteezy up front with the BKB, defensive supports in the back ready to protect him. And I think at this point he doesn't even have the Aegis, right? They're just not scared. Or did he have the Aegis?
I think he had the Aegis.
He still has
Yeah,
the
he
Aegis?
still-
No, he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
He
I
used
think
the
he-
Aegis already. He
Right.
used the
I think it
Aegis.
expired before when the
maybe,
clip
yeah.
started. I think he didn't have
Right,
it,
yeah.
but they still go high ground.
No, he actually had it when.
Oh yeah, that's right. He had it, and
had
they,
it.
yeah, this is like the second phase of that fight. It's a long fight.
Right,
this
yeah,
one,
it
with like
did
multiple
extend
buybacks
quite a
and
little
stuff. Yeah,
bit.
that's right. So, you know, it's just very stereotypical. It's very clear that Secret, when they draft, already prepare for how are we going to end the game. They're not drafting to just win the lanes or anything. It's like the whole game plan is already planned out before the game starts. And then, of course, they adapt if things go wrong. It's not like, okay, we have this 5-step plan. Oh, step 2 went wrong, so we lost. You know, they always have a backup. But
I mean, the last fight as
very,
well.
very textbook
They weren't
play.
5 at the base. That was also
Yeah.
another point. Like Gyro was TPing. He was TPing at the tier 2 of the enemy in top lane. Zai came in, cancelled the TP with a vacuum, and he was running all the way back to base. And I think there was a ward on the jungle, the cliff, that spotted him out, and they were able to actually pick him off. Like S4 just started out with the Hex and the Weave, the Medallion.
Yeah.
Even if he was able to pop his BKB at the end, but it was just too much minus armor, and there was -1 from before
Yeah.
the fight even starts. So LGD was under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, good point. Now, there is a lot more to talk about, of course, also going into game 2. But before we go there, we had a bit of a shocking update from one of our other games, of course. IG versus C9. A lot of people jokingly assuming, like, oh, this match going to go forever. It has the potential to maybe even mark a history and longest game of TI. But relatively quick match. Winter, maybe possibly the quickest match we've had so far this TI.
Yeah, it ended at 25 minutes. Exactly.
Yeah, that's
I saw.
not a timer we were expecting from either of those teams. Also, some other interesting stats from this one, right? We were looking at a couple yesterday. One thing that I think some people are finding very interesting is the stat of Ember Spirit so far at TI5. Until yesterday's last game with EG, we had Ember Spirits being played by Chinese team going 7-0, and Ember Spirits being played by non-Chinese teams going 0-8. EG broke that by winning their one game, so it was 1-8. But then here, IG loses with Ember Spirits, so now we have that stat also flipped off, where it is going, or turned off, where it is going to be the Chinese teams now only 7-1 with 1 loss as Ember Spirit, and also getting shut out 16-0. No kills by IG. We caught some glimpses of that. Ben, I mean, how did that happen?
It was actually a very similar strategy that they used yesterday. They had like the whiffs, gyro pressuring a lot of areas of the map, and I mean it was just dominating from start to finish.
Yeah, we'll take a quick look at the game here between IG and C9. This was their game 1, game 2 going underway right now between these two teams.
They overcommitted on the gyro a lot and underestimated the wisp. And you guys talked about 2 teams that you really don't want to give wisp to, and Cloud9 is certainly one of them. They just overcommitted and then they gave up like 2 or 3 kills in return without killing the gyro copter. And that just happened, you know, 2 or 3 too many times at the start of the game. On top of that, we have Fada's Beastmaster, a classic hero matchup for him, and he is just really good about playing with the vision, with the hawk moving around the map and getting things done.
There's also one point about C9's draft. It was the first game someone ever picked Lich, and it was a really good situation to actually have that hero. Frost Armor was really good with against what IG had. They had Razor, Ember Spirit, a lot of physical damage between the 2 cores. So I felt the Lich pick there not only strengthened the Clockwork, because Clockwork had a good laning phase because there was a Lich with him, it also fortifies the whole lineup against what IG had.
Yeah, so pretty surprising game 1 from both teams, but props to C9, of course, taking that lead. Now, they are 1-0, but the match isn't over yet. And speaking of that, of course, we do have, again, a lot of players. We've been learning about a lot of our players here, and some facts that maybe we didn't even know of. A lot of the community now finding out more about their favorite players here at TI5. We have a little bit more insight into Ferrari from IG as they go into game number 2 versus C9.
第一次见430的时候，就觉得这个人有点疯狂吧，每天都在打，就是他也没玩别的，就一直在练，一直在打。
我觉得430他首先对自己从来不会降低要求，他不会乱看网页什么的，就是
我觉得 IG 最强的地方在于我们能适应所有的战术，因为基本上所有的英雄我们都会去用，都会去尝试所有的套路，我们都可以去复制它，然后去学习它。
我觉得430，这5年一直在 IG 打，是我挺佩服的吧，因为很多职业选手都是这么多年就是一直保持一个很好的竞技状态吧。
第一个反应就是他是一个挺大胆的人，比较刚，然后当然这和他技术高也有关吧。艺高人胆大，但是他绝对是一个不怂的人，在游戏。
感觉时间过得特别快吧，感觉 TI1、TI2仿佛都在昨天一样，一下突然就到 TI5了，感觉时间过了，还没有反应过来，时间已经过去了。
IG 和他之间已经有一种特殊的感情了。
我们人员一直在变动嘛，但是430从来没有离开过 IG 也确实很需要。
IG 在我心中可能就代表了 DOTA 吧，因为我一直在这个队伍当中。一起最难忘的经历当然是 TI2夺冠。我相信所有的人、所有的队伍，如果 TI 能夺冠，这都是他们最深刻的经历。
兄弟啊，这个 TI 是打一届少一届，希望我们今年能够打漂亮一点，然后继续一起并肩作战吧，这样。
All right, so a little bit more insight into Ferrari, of course. I mean, very admirable, as even his teammates were saying, just that he's been with IG for this long, and that last line, definitely a little bit of feels there, just saying, hey, TI's come and go, but we're gonna fight even better this year at TI5. Ferrari looking for another shot at that TI championship. Would love to talk more about that, but our draft is starting. Things are moving fast here on day 3. By the way, if you're more interested in watching that IG game, definitely head over to Stream 2. You'll be able to catch IG versus C9 Game 2. Right now, we're going to draft of Game 2 of our matchup, Secret versus LGD. But before we go there, I'm full of updates this morning. We've got another record breaker in the game, Navi versus Fnatic on Stream 3. Navi did win. They're up 1-0, but Dendi went 20-0 on Queen of Pain, the highest kills we've had on a Queen of Pain in all TIs. So Dendi setting some records as we kick off the second half of the group stage.
And that's definitely also the highest kill count we've had on any hero this TI.
Yes.
No one's been close
20,
to that,
I think so. 20-0 sounds
There's been
pretty
some
dominating.
beyond godlikes, but I think it's
that's
crazy.
That is pretty crazy. Again, so if you want to watch that matchup, sounds like there's a lot of blood being spilled there. That's on Stream 3, but right now, LGD versus Team Secret. We're here to check out if LGD can bring it back in Game 2. As everyone's been agreeing, I mean, it doesn't look like the draft was much of an issue, but look at this. Lesh getting through, and LGD happy to pick that right up.
And the draft is going super fast. I was looking
Yes.
over what feels like 20 seconds ago, and they were about to pick the first hero. So the teams just know what they want in the first phase. LGD with the first overall pick, I think. They grabbed Lesh. And there was the Gyro Quap trade-off for Secret. So, correct me if I'm wrong, LGD had overall first pick last game, right? So it's the exact same sides and pick order.
Yes, looks like it actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Last game they first picked the. What was it?
What did they?
They traded.
They took
They
the
traded
gyro.
Gyro for Queen of Pain SF.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right. And this time they trade Lesh for Queen of
And they
for
did ban the
Queen of Pain Gyro.
SF.
Yeah.
All right. And earlier Bane ban from Team Secret this time.
Yeah, Secret prefer Radiant. I think if they could choose pick or side, they almost always choose Radiant as opposed to most teams which choose side first, or sorry, pick first. So, not exactly sure why. I think some people say like the off lane's a little bit easier, or they utilize the jungle a little bit easier, but the stats have been proven that Secret just generally prefer Radiant by a large margin.
I think the main draw for Dire in the past was the easier access to Roshan, where they still have like a slight advantage, but it's not that big anymore. Whereas Radiant, like you said, easier off lane. I think to an extent it's also
Better mid as well.
The mid lane, lane is better too. You have access to the camp. It's really good for farm efficient mid laners like
Right.
that Secret like to run.
Okay.
And in addition to that, it also seems that when it comes to the safe lane, it's in a way it's easier to control the area generally on the Radiant than on Dire, where it can get a little bit more chaotic with the entrance points to an extent.
All right. So some solid reasons. Rubik being banned out by LGD, and of course the Brood being banned out just a moment ago.
Yeah, they're just taking out what they feel Secret is best at.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not allowing Secret to go for their comfort picks, and let's see what Secret has for their replacement picks for those heroes.
Yeah, again, I mean, sure, LGD can't 2-0 anymore, but if they can at least tie, then you still leave it open-ended for the rest of both teams' matches to say, hey, let's fight for first and second seed still in Group A. The hopes are still alive there for LGD. If Secret takes it 2-0, though, that's quite a different story. And then an SD ban coming out from Secret.
Interesting. They're taking away a good Lashrak partner, but we mostly see that when you want to pick anti-mage, but of course in this case Secret doesn't have the luxury to do that anymore since they have Gyro.
Doesn't it lend more likelihood that they're going to run Leshrac as a support if, or Secret thinks that they're going to run Leshrac as a support
I mean,
if they ban
possibly
Leshrac
as well.
Yeah.
Then the Earthshaker towards the offlane role, like what they did in the first game.
Yeah, they actually banned both Leshrac setups.
I think Clockwork could also be good for Secret here against what?
Yeah, definitely.
Lash and Earthshaker. Like, Clock seems to be a pick where it's generally good against a lot of the heroes in the current.
Right.
Like we talk about this a lot. Like, oh, Clockwork
Yeah.
could be good. Yeah, Clockwork. Could be
Yeah, I've
good.
been hearing that a lot from you guys. Every time we see her, but yeah, well, Clock can play well against this hero. Got that list going.
I mean, in general, Clock decent in lane. It's good in lane. Like you get experience and very good at like trading your life with someone important.
It is very, very good here. I completely agree with that pick. I think it's the best hero they could pick right now. The downside and the reason Secret might have been contemplating whether it was now they should pick it was, okay, do we think LGD will play Shaker as a core, because in that case they won't pick Clock, and now LGD see all three cores, so now they know the remaining two picks have to be supports, and they can start targeting both their picks and their remaining ban at the fact that Secret will have to grab those two.
Okay.
We might see a Witch Doctor again, perhaps, actually, for Kuro here. It's not...
There's still Dazzle though.
Dazzle is definitely a good
I
pick
mean,
as well.
we've seen so many games where Dazzle plus Gyro together is a recipe for success. You grave him and the Weave as well. Everyone gets reduction in armor on the enemy team. Then the Flat Cannon just does a lot of work after that.
I think the Dazzle is also very good for LGD. To keep that Leshrac safe, who is definitely going to be the target of Secret with this Clockwork pick. Like, they want to hookshot in and blow him up with Blade Mail and Queen of Pain's Burst. So, if nothing else, if you have a Dazzle to protect the Lesh against the Clock, you will most likely at least trade those two for each other in the fight, instead of just getting your
Hashtag worth it if that happens.
Yeah, it's still worth it for Secret, but it sets up for a potential fight.
So LGD running through all of their time.
I think they're thinking whether they want to go back towards the IO again, possibly. Oh, okay, they're gonna go for the Dazzle instead this time around. So no IO this game for LGD, but more of a defensive supports to keep their cause alive.
Technically, they could still get IO if they want, but
I mean,
that might be
if they could, but their lineup is gonna be a little like they have very little control within the supports. There's no stuns.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. So they can't play aggressive. They have to be relying on getting levels on both, especially the Wiz to level 6 before they can actually be more aggressive. And we've seen that happen before to the teams where if you just let Secret do their thing and you just sit back, things are always not going to be good after that.
Yeah, they really don't have good control for the Clockwork right now. I mean, I think that LGD had a lot of trouble in the laning phase last game, shutting down the Shadow Fiend, shutting down the Darkseer, and I mean, Secret did kind of shore up their defenses by having the supports not in the safe lane, which is one of the reasons why I think giving Secret Queen of Pain is very difficult, just because you not only do you lose that lane, you lose the other lane just because they can leave Queen of Pain alone.
Right.
So I thought that they might try and concentrate more on the laning phase this game. Leshrac is really good, but Dazzle's a much more defensive support. Can't really gank mid for Leshrac. Can't really zone out the Clockwork terribly well.
Okay. Enchantress coming out for Secret. What do you make of that?
It's similar to what they did earlier. I think they ran a Chen versus a Leshrac in the mid lane, and it's an underhanded matchup for the Leshrac. I forgot which team exactly ran it, but I'm pretty sure it was Secret, and they just constantly gank the Leshrac. And Dazzle can only do so much. You can only grave once in a while, and it's a very short range, and oftentimes with a very dominant mid like Queen of Pain, you want to be able to kill that mid, or else you're wasting so much of the potential of the hero, and often you can get 2 kills on that.
And if you look at their lineup and you think about how the early game is going to pan out, Enchanter is going to be looking to gank, and Dazzle, you're going to be holding a teleport scroll. Like, anytime middle is in trouble, you want to TP over, but if you look at the heroes they have Poison, and Enchanter's creeps can last for a long time, so the Grave might not necessarily mean that the Leshrac is going to be safe for sure.
Whenever I see an Enchantress, I always consider the option of running an aggressive dual lane with a roaming support and Enchantress. And then, if you look at Secret's lineup, if they were to do that and they expect it to be a core Shaker, they would play Clock versus Shaker, which I think is a favorable matchup for Clock, by quite a bit actually, if he plays it well. And Zai is a very adept Clock player. And then the off lane they could put would be an aggressive dual lane with Gyro plus the roaming Enchantress threat of Puppey. And I think in the super early game, Enchantress actually matches up really well against Dazzle, because Dazzle is about sustaining multiple heroes at once with the Shadow Wave, and the Enchantress can just keep taking creeps and just draining all his mana with either a mana burn creep first off, or just getting multiple creeps and just keep running them in and harassing a lot and putting pressure on the AM that way.
I think it's really good in theory, but the problem is LGD can just sit at their jungle at the start, and their level 1 is like really, really strong, and that's...
Puppey doesn't have to start in the enemy jungle.
Yeah.
He can start in his own and then smoke up there after like getting 2 creeps. It takes 30 seconds and then you can go.
Do you think Witch Doctor would be good for that matter, with the Ange roaming, or the Witch Doctor plus Gyro together on the off lane? Do you think that could actually work?
They don't have any solution for the anti-mage, I would say, like no disables, no
So Lion would probably be better in that sense?
That makes their lane pretty weak.
Okay, this is
now
like...
they could still be aggressing with this actually.
This is like the greediest possible pickup they can have here in this situation. They have both the supports that want to farm a lot. Like, obviously Enchantress can gank early, but she can choose to farm as well. So maybe they would be... I think they might actually be just defensive tri-lane and defensive dual laning with the Gyro and the Visage. You just get farm on greedy support like Visage instead of trying to do so much. Like I mentioned before, when the enemy has anti-mage, there's 2 ways to go about it. Either you challenge the anti-mage, or you pick something that is greedy in that sense that you get something in return instead of just letting him farm. So I would view Visage as a good greedy sort of support to trade farm with anti-mage.
Okay, and then the Witch Doctor flipping over to LGD side.
This looks like a pick targeted at
the creeps?
dealing with Enchantress creeps early on with the cask, 5-second
Okay.
stun bounces in them, and in addition to that, it's a pretty decent matchup against Clockwork. When he hooks in, generally there's some sort of follow-up. Maybe you can get a cask bounce over to a follow-up hero, and if you can't, you can at least just plop down the Death Ward and it will get rid of Clockwork while he's in his cogs. Obviously, Blade Mail does not reflect Death Ward damage onto the hero using the Death Ward, so... I think this is a pretty solid pick. The cast can actually also bounce off the familiars. I do believe it doesn't stun them anymore. Like, the familiars have been really weird in Dota 2 over the last couple of years, but they're pretty streamlined now. But it's still, they can carry the stun for you,
Right.
which can be nice.
I think they have to be really careful about protecting Leshrac, though. If Leshrac like falls apart in this, I think anti-mage will get farm like regardless. I don't think they have the tools necessary to shut down his farm. But if Leshrac gets under farm, it's going to be easy going for Secret. So Xiao 8, they have to sit there.
All right, well, game 2 has started, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see if LGD can tie it up or if Secret are going to lead Group A with 13 points.
Do it after the beginning of the laning stage.
Yeah. I like LGD's draft better this game than what Secret had pulled out, but I mean, it's Secret. They have a plan, and it's, to me, going to be more late game oriented than last game in a lot of ways, where they can't really end this game that quickly unless they really snowball out of control. And Arteezy's Gyrocopter does that a lot. It finds tons of kills, then just gets completely out of control if he can move around the map. But they haven't really got... I guess Clockwork's going to be the hero to kind of pair up with him and lead the way with those hookshot initiations. So could see Secret with a quick win here, but I just don't think it's likely. I think this one is going to be going to the late game, and Secret are trying to pick heroes that they feel can maybe handle the anti-mage in a late game setting.
Well, let's see if that's the case. Welcome in everybody from the live stream, and thanks for tuning in to everybody on Dota TV. It's LGD versus Secret. Game number 2. Secret, with the win here, would catapult themselves into a very decisive first place in Group A. They'd have 13 points, and maybe not 100% mathematically guaranteed, but very likely to take the group, and with that have their choice of opponent in the winner's bracket round 1 at the main event in Key Arena. It's the International 2015, day 3 of the group stage. Today is where so much is decided for many of the teams, a lot on the line, and with that, the bounty runes spawn, S4 grabs one, maybe the other, and we get ourselves underway with what promises to be a really exciting matchup.
Yeah, game 1 delivered. 30 minutes of back and forth, just nail-biting Dota as far as who was going to take it, and everything just kind of blew up for LGD in the span of about 2 minutes' time, but we'll see if they can remain composed here going into game 2. They've gone for the anti-mage. They've also been given Leshrac, and this is going to be... I'm trying to talk about slightly LGD favored draft perhaps, but it's going to come down so much to the early game rotations and pressure that Puppey can put out on Enchantress.
Our mid lane, Leshrac versus Queen of Pain 1v1, something you see a lot of in pubs, but have not seen very much of here at the International thus far, as normally that Leshrac is banned out. And oftentimes the Queen of Pain even ends up in the side lane here for a lot of teams. It will be the off-lane shaker for Yao. I'll try to get his early levels. Bakuro focusing on the zoning here. Zai also trying to get his own experience, but having a slightly easier time of it. Both heroes just blocking the creep waves back early. You see the Fissure comes out. They're going to do whatever they can to just get those early levels, but the X factor, as we talked about during the draft guides, it's really going to be Puppey on the Enchantress. Very defensive draft for LGD because of the cores as well as the types of supports they've picked, which allows Secret to get away with an Enchantress, and even with a slightly greedier support in Kuroki's Visage, who later on normally is going to be given a lot of farm priority.
Yeah. Defensive, but very much complements the anti-mage pick, and we're going to see...
It's a trade-off. You let Secret have their jungle, you let them have a greedier 4-position support or 5-position, but you make up for it or look to with the anti-mage.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Mid lane, S4, solo killed by maybe, just got stunned. He started with the level 1 stun, and he threw it from the high ground and just started chipping away with auto attacks. And then he finally falls prey. I think that was the 3rd stun in a row that maybe had hit on him.
This guy's laning's insane. I was like watching him for the first like two to three creep waves, and he was just... His last hitting and harass on the S4 was nuts.
We saw this versus Mushi as well. Now, if I recall correctly, that was a more disadvantaged matchup for... No, actually, it was Razor versus Queen of Pain versus Fnatic, where S4 died twice solo. Normally, S4 is known for doing very well in the laning stage, but maybe catching him all completely off guard, and not only with the first Blood Gods. He's 11-2. S4 even has a Hill Ward, so he knows that there's nobody in the neighborhood. He knows he can play as aggressive as he pleases in this mid lane, and well, the power of Leshrac in play here. This lane gets ugly from here. He's got a regen rune bottle. Actually, the dream start for Leshrac. It doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah, it's this is going to be a sad lane for Queen of Pain. Puppey can consider ganking, but at some point it's going to be really difficult once Leshrac gets boots out, unless you get the right creep combination. It's a very high-risk gank, and if you go for that gank and it doesn't actually work, you're wasting a lot of time where you can be jungling and getting other stuff done. So I'm not sure if Puppey's going to take that risk and go for the gank. Not to mention, Zhao 8, where he's positioned on the Witch Doctor here above the mid lane, is entirely to stop a smoke gank from Enchantress. He's happy just to go back and forth from this position to stack in the jungle to protect Leshrac from Enchantress.
And speaking of that jungle, look at the start Puppey's had. He found an early Wildkin. He has been just turbo farming, level 4.5 at 3 minutes. Basically the level that you'll get from almost a perfectly executed Enigma jungle. Maybe you're 5 at this point, but this is about as fast as it gets. So Secret are still getting a lot elsewhere on the map, but with that kill and the great start he's had, we do see a gold lead developing here for LGD. The experience, though, is going Secret's way. Still pretty even and still very early, but it is a free farm anti-mage. The gyrocopter of Arteezy a bit behind in the CS, mildly so.
Yep.
Offlaners getting similar experience, a little more to Zai. Close now, and I think that's where it really highlights what you bring up with the Witch Doctor. Like, that's the big thing that could screw up LGD here. Zai getting caught in the river, though, and there's the initial lightning to come out. Do they have a follow-up slow? They do. MMY takes the point in Poison Touch. Normally don't see this early. Could cost Zai his life. It will. The low cooldown lightning spam chews through his armor, and Kuroki unable to assist despite the haste turn he found bottom. It's almost feeling like they need that Puppey gank sooner rather than later.
So far, he's made the right decision not to gank, because if he would have gone for that gank, it would have failed. It would have been a waste of time. So it's very much just been LGD. They're playing very refined Dota. They had the Witch Doctor protecting mid, and now when Witch Doctor goes off to kind of help out the top lane or stack some more Earthshakers there now, they realize the one big way for Secret to turn this game around is a gank on Leshrac, and they're just entirely disallowing that. And I think Puppy's respecting it. He's just jungle farming. Like, he hasn't had any impact on this game, but he's making the most out of the bad situation by just farming.
Oh, S4, he wanted to blink. Oh, the stun
missed
time by maybe.
timed.
Could have popped it a bit sooner there. Would have been another kill on S4. Oh, he's just lucky to get out of there. Still no boots. 14 CS to the 31 of the enemy Lesh, but well, some wasted time there for Yao, and maybe chewing through a lot of his own mana. He'll sell the Salve here, buys the Arcane Boots. That's going to top off Yao nicely, and maybe we'll go back to the mid lane. That could have put this game really out of control for LGD, but they're able to dodge a bullet. Do want to point out, Xiao8 has been calmly stacking up the woods. Maybe he's looking to farm it now. He'll start spamming lightning, the cast comes out, and this will get Xiao8 his levels, because he's just been camping mid, as you pointed out, and he was not getting much experience early, but all of a sudden, almost level 3. One creep wave away or so.
Rocket Flare scouts it out, but it's too late, so...
I like how they farm it quickly this time. After last game, Secret 5-manning their big stack. No chance LGD is going to give that type of free economy up this time around.
Yeah. Now, one of the problems Secret may run into is that both Enchantress and Visage are kind of supports that one farm. You don't have like the Kuro Rubik or something else that can be more of a 5 position, allowing Puppy to go for just Midas and playing greedy. And he may still well go for the Midas, but these are two supports who can benefit a lot from getting farm. Visage wants the Medallion into the Aghanim Scepter. Similar story with the Enchantress where you want a Midas Aghanim Scepter. So for now, Puppy's getting plenty of farm in the jungle. Kuro hasn't been able to get too much, apart from pull camps, but we'll have to see if they give Kuro any space or if he's just going to be like not farming an Ag Scepter anytime this game. Because at best, he may get a Medallion unless he's given a lane and some farm this game.
It's actually LGD who choose to buy a smoke here. We mentioned very strong defensively, but this is really the beauty of heroes like Earthshaker especially, where they can also play offense if they need to. S4, again, the fissure combinations. This is why we see Earthshaker second picked in so many games. It's not just LGD and Secret that often prioritize this hero. It feels like it's almost every team. If they get that strong mid laner, a Queen of Pain, a Shadow Fiend, a Leshrac, probably even the best partner in the game right now, you have so many options, whether he plays offlane or support. You can just always go for those picks, and if you're the ones on the back foot, you've got the defensive disengage. LGD off to a hot start here, and maybe after the solo kill, showing off his individual talent. They even get eyes on the Secret Ancients. Last game, it was Secret who kind of shut down LGD's own farm in the jungle, but it seems it may go the other way there too. LGD, with a lead, not going to sit on it. They want to keep on applying pressure and look to expand it.
Yeah, I think the turnaround potential for Secret at this point doesn't come from Enchantress ganks, but TP rotations from Arteezy. His Gyrocopter is the one who can turn fights around and dish out more damage than anyone on this Radiant side. Call down and Rocket Barrage.
But he's not going for the ganking build here. No drums. He's got the Aquila, but he's going into Dominator.
Yeah,
a sign that he wants to focus on farm. And I mean, to be fair, this is a difference between Arteezy and I think the best example that we've seen a lot of, at least you and I in this tournament, Aggressive, where he always goes for like your phase, drums, just run around the map, TP smoke gank, more of a ganking gyro, but that's not really the Arteezy way. He likes to farm, and he is going to focus on it here.
Maybe Secret deciding this early mid game is not going to go well. They go for a kill on bottom,
yeah. They look for it with the call down on Xiao8. Soul Assumption coming through, not enough. Stick and heal up, and now the rotation. Maybe he tries to find Arteezy. He's a bit slow without the phase boots. That's a devastating kill, and he's going to grab it. A dominating streak. He looks for Kuro as well. Don't think he'll be quite in range here. They don't have a follow-up to that initial lightning slow. He will make it out. Well, if you're going for the Dominator, you cannot afford to die like that. And meanwhile, Sylar happily slicing creeps top lane. Very fast Battle Fury timing in the offing. The Bloodstone will begin construction here for maybe Leshrac. Still haven't seen the Enchantress really find any openings. Just farming. Now even going into a Midas, it looks like, for Puppy, potentially. Could have bought his treads if he wanted them. Secret are really rolling the dice on the farm game right now.
Yeah. Rolling the dice, but they're quickly running out of dice here because I think it's the only one they've got left as far as options go. They've got a huge Leshrac problem. When the Lesh gets this big, there's just no real way you can fight into it unless you want to overcommit like your entire lineup. You have to use Sonic Wave. You need the Gyrocopter be coming in. At that point, you're getting heavily outfarmed.
Gods, they have a hill ward mid,
Well.
and they just rocketed the trees where LGD smoked only 5-10 seconds before, but they missed it, and they might get completely backstabbed here. Yao and maybe looking for the opening. The smoke's going to break. They know there's heroes around the tree line, and they're looking to go. Kuro, Arteezy just hugging the tower. LGD, they hesitate. They back off. They don't know what exactly lurks, so they'll just farm the enemy neutrals. That was almost another 2-hero takedown. I think if they dive in there, they get both, but
you don't know what's waiting for.
They play it safe.
Because they have a lead, it's the right call to play it safe there. You probably got Silo yelling, guys, I'm having the anti-mage game here. Like I have almost got my Battle Fury. I have it by like 13 minutes here. Just don't do anything to ruin our lead, and we'll be fine.
They have more to lose than Secret right now.
Yeah.
They've got the anti-mage farming. It's a really good anti-mage game. You talked about Queen of Pain Hex as the potential answer to the anti-mage later on, but we're not going to see a Hex for a long time. Maybe, meanwhile, finding a kill on Arteezy. He went into the woods to farm, and LGD already had the ward in the jungle, so they spotted that. They completely catch him out. Beautifully played. Meanwhile, top, you can see a little pressure maybe going, but it's Puppey. Caught in the jungle as well. He's next. Hasn't left the woods, and so LGD take the fight to him. All of a sudden, completely out of control, Monster Shrek in the making. This guy is going to be so difficult to deal with, and they have an anti-mage problem as well. That's the terrifying part. Even if you manage to get maybe back under control, Sylar's farming. And if you focus on Sylar, I mean, good luck dealing with maybe. They're really caught between a rock and a hard place now.
Absolutely. They haven't really got the ability to gank or pressure Sylar anyways. S4's gone up there to maybe look to contest and slow down his farm a little bit, but ultimately Sylar can farm just fine against the Queen of Pain. So.
And they're farming their stacks once more.
Wow.
LGD just ping-ponging between aggressive moves into the secret jungle and farming stacks in their own woods. Their economy has been very impressive this game, and at the same time, Secret having 4 of the mid farmers, but I just look at the cores, and they're so far ahead on LGD.
And Anti-Mage is in such a good spot. He can get a really good Battle Fury Vlad's timing. He could theoretically look to steal this Radiant Ancient stack, because Gyrocopter can't really farm unless he wants to go and like slow farm it with like 3 to 4 flat cannons.
They have to commit 3 or 4 heroes. Bring in the familiars, maybe tank it with the Enchantress Untouchable, but yeah.
They may look to farm it early just out of worry for the Anti-Mage stealing it, but yeah, there's a lot of farm to be had.
And there's a ward there, so they know what's going on, LGD will, for a bit longer.
Yeah. It requires Vlad's plus Battle Fury, which is still like, if you're LGD, you're like, well, we've got to wait maybe 6-7 minutes before we can try and contest
it's full Midas gaming, gods. Even the visage of Kuro is building towards one. LGD, Puppy's they look scouted to punish even more. The smoke end comes in, it's Puppey trapped out. Oh, did he buy the Midas in time? Yes, just barely, but they're giving up so much, and it feels like their bet is completely made at this point. Double Midas built, as well as going into the early Dominator and the Gyro. There will be no fighting for Secret, only dodging and farming. But even farming may be tough. Arteezy looking for the Ancients, but meanwhile, bottom lane about to get a heavy dose of pressure. They scout with the Weave. I think it just clipped Kuro there, and they see him. Fissure, another follow-up stun about to come out for maybe. He tries to run, nowhere to go. A monster kill for the Monster Shrek, and
it's all right. He bought his Midas as well. You know, similar story.
I guess. I mean, I mean, they've gone double Midas and Dominator, and they're still getting heavily outfarmed here. They're down 3K gold, and this is before the anti-mage effect. This is before the battle.
They're going to head towards the Ancients here. If they get here soon, they can look to punish Arteezy and steal some of this. He's been working on it for a while, but with just the Brown Boots, Aquila Helmet Dominator, this is a very slow Ancients, and this ward has spotted him a few times.
It has. I think they're
maybe Invis.
Oh no! Oh no! Not again. He made the plays mid. Can he make the plays of the Ancients? Oh, Arteezy. If the stun isn't a complete airball, he's done for. Doesn't even need to hit it on his own. Godlike for maybe. 9-0 your score. Secret getting slaughtered. This is looking maybe even worse than the loss to Fnatic as far as how the game started.
Yeah, at this point it feels like they may just get blanked. Like where here, maybe a hook shot into a cooldown or something. Speaking of hookshot, it looks like Zai did actually use that for something. It's on cooldown back at base, but
maybe for Sylar.
I think to escape from Sylar is my guess.
Oh, jeez.
Probably like a hook TP or
Great
something.
denied by Puppey, but it's even going to cost him this one. Cast coming out. They're going in with MMY. They deploy the Death Ward, and Puppey will fall again. He did use his Midas
Whoa,
earlier.
there we go.
They commit a lot. They get something. The first kill of the game for Secret, and they whiff the stun here by maybe. Yao's on the back foot. Can Secret find more? They really need additional kills to come out. A Blake forward, a Scream, even a Rocket. There's no hook right now, as you mentioned. It was used earlier. 15 seconds on the cooldown there. But Battle Fury is ready now, gods.
Yeah.
He's just got to send it out.
There's a Bloodstone up on Leshrac, and this is not just like a. He didn't even disassemble his arcane boots. That's kind of.
That's ridiculously impressive.
That's very.
He's 9-0-0.
I mean, his net worth is just absurd.
At the same time, I'm curious how Secret are going to look at it, because I feel like they'll look at it and S4 is just going to say, I shouldn't have died to him solo. And a lot of this came from that initial
Yeah,
kill.
I mean, some of the following kills were maybe going to be hard to prevent. Like when the Earthshaker rotates in, there's a lot of kill potential between these, so it would be a lot. It'd be a lot better for S4 and not quite as crazy for maybe. But he was always going to have the neutral stacks. He was always going to have an Earthshaker rotation, which would probably lead to a kill or two. So maybe it wouldn't have been like the godlike Leshrac right now, but
it still would have been a good one.
I still feel like this would have been a fantastic Leshrac game, and they never had any way of shutting down Leshrac or stopping the anti-mage farming. The way LGD played with the Witch Doctor mid lane meant that there was no room for Puppey to ever get any kind of successful gank there.
And they knew that was the play. As top lane, the tower will fall. There's a backstep from Puppey, but Yao's in position. They are protecting Xiaohui's Witch Doctor of all heroes. Maybe now rotates in. Only the 8 Bloodstone charges, but at this rate, he may ramp them up rather rapidly.
S4 gets a tower up top, so he's...
Yeah,
that's
important for
As
Secret.
far as the economy goes for Secret, like, they're not terribly far behind on overall net worth. It's been very much like they're getting what where they can wherever on the map, but it's coming at the cost of, like, core heroes' lives here and there, and
it's also coming at the cost of even pressuring the anti-mage, who at this point has the Battle Fury. Expect to see his farm ramp up. Let's see if LGD continue to find their openings. Familiars are in position to go on Yao. There's a single stun. Second Familiar backing off. I am curious to see how much more pressure LGD wants to put on the map, because right now seems still like the best time to strike. With Double Midas not really having paid off fully yet. Gyrocopter yet to pick up his BKB. He has 1,300 gold on Arteezy, though. And they are moving Sylar down bottom, so it seems they want to start applying pressure elsewhere. Even a call down used here. You could just see from every move Secret makes, they don't really want the big fight now. They want the creeps.
they want to go for the ultra late game here. There's not much else to it when it comes to what Secret's game plan is going to be, but the gold advantage should get slightly more LGD favored just because how much Anti-Mage's farming speed accelerates with the Battle Fury. But
can they kill him with 4? If they hook into a double Familiar stun, maybe, but that's about it. And seeing the clock top, Sylar has almost no fear.
Unlikely. Yeah, he's going for a heavy stats build as well, so he's sitting on about 1,100 HP. So
with the power treads, and he's got 1,600 up already. I am curious, does he want the Vlads, or does he just go more into a combat anti-mage this time around?
I feel like you skip the Vlads when you feel like you really need a fast Manta against like an Orchid timing, but that Orchid timing just doesn't exist. I mean, S4 is sitting on 3.2k, so you don't know what he's going for.
He could go for one. LGD on a big smoke gank here. Secret are sitting back in decent position to reveal it and maybe turn it, but they fissure Puppey to start. Zai trapped on the wrong side of this one, and now the Leshrac stun comes out, but a 4-hero Familiar stun coming out from Kuro to try and salvage the fight. The Queen of Paydol's there as well. Zai hooks away. The Death Ward doesn't finish him. Are they actually going to turn this fight? They clip and bring down maybe. That's 1,000 gold. Godlike streak ended. Oh, goodness gracious. Secret right back in it after that one. Sylar trying to go to work here. Secret saw it coming. They were ready, but the Monovoid does work. Brings down S4. Still relatively healthy. Sylar maybe looks to re-engage. They needed a perfect fight to hold that, and they got it. Kuroki, 4-hero Familiar stun coming out, man.
And an S4 rune, of course, on the Queen of Pain.
Of course.
It allowed him just like blink in aggressively, throw his spells, and then he just scurries out of there, so he didn't actually end up in too much danger with the Fissure still on cooldown, so...
I mean, aside from the Familiar stun, it was just the positioning. Secret knew that exact move was coming. You could tell from the way their heroes were located. They had the clockwork out in front, positioned towards the right side of the jungle, expecting LGD to make their move. Just great game sense here from Secret. LGD, they still have the most farmed cores on the map, but after that fight with 2 Midases and the Dominator in play, It's not much of a gold lead, all things
Yeah, it's like
considered.
LGD have 2 super cores, while Secret have 4 regular cores here, it feels like. Because the way the 2 supports on Secret play is they're getting a lot of farm, the Midases will carry them to the late game. Zai's not going to be able to get much in the way of farm or levels this game. But
It's Secret's turn to move. They're heading
get
towards
here
the
in
pit.
time.
They don't have the Queen of Pain ult this time, though. That's a pretty big loss in damage. As Yao looks for the fissure block, it's not really a great one, but the Roche will fall off the bat. They give maybe the Aegis. Yao isolated up on the high ground, being pursued out. The cask bouncing nicely. Good defensive play. Meanwhile, the Mana Void. Zai gets trapped along with S4. Melted. They still hold the Aegis. Nobody drops. Big plays there from the cask of Xiaowei, completely preventing the chase on Yao. And then they isolate and clean up the other 2 heroes.
that just kept on bouncing for days. Unfortunately for Secret, if it bounced like to the familiars, it would have been
Blink
great.
in. Puppey dead as well. That's 3. LGD right back in the driver's seat. Secret really had to go for that Roche, but without the Queen of Pain ult and with good defensive play by LGD, couldn't find the opening.
Having this Witch Doctor Dazzle support duo just offers so much utility. The Witch Doctor able to just heal everyone up when needed, the cast, the Death Ward, the Dazzle with the Medallion Rush, and just having Grave and heals on your side. It seems like just a fantastic duo defensively all throughout the game. It doesn't really fall off like kind of a lot of defensive laning duos can. These heroes are great even as you go later in the game.
They are trying to play the rat game a bit here. Arteezy even creep cutting the top lane will immediately TP out and just gets out in the nick of time.
Oh, those are Yules too. That was very close.
I don't think he even knew that Yules was in
Yeah,
play.
if maybe a TP like half a second earlier before the gyro TP, he gets that Yules off.
If that's just a regular Lesh without a Yules, not even a close call, but with the Yules in play, it is a rather close one, actually. Well, he does make it out, and Secret try to stall the game out. They definitely don't want to fight into this Aegis if they can avoid it. As Secret, or rather as LGD, continue their farm progression, and you can see the confidence Sylar has now. Freely moving through the enemy jungle. He did opt to skip the Vlads, and that allows him to have a completed Manta style already out at 21 minutes. Much more active anti-mage, and along with that, as we're seeing now, Yao with the Blink Dagger en route. A slower Blink timing, but whenever you get the Blink, the game always is going to change for the opposition.
This is such a Yao game. 0-0-11, just getting tons of assists. He plays the offlane more like a support, but he gets so much done because he takes advantage of his levels. He's really good at just using his levels to be in the right position.
I mean, look at
set
mid.
up kills.
Look at mid. Look how much he did there for Maybe.
So much of Maybe's position right now in this game as the kind of game controller is because of Yao's Earthshaker.
Manta style online and LGD smoking again. They have really been chewing through these as of late, and that is their last smoke for 9 minutes, unless there's one sitting in the stash. They move down through mid. Maybe surging forward in front, and as you mentioned, he's got the Yules. Secret might try to set up for this one. Maybe gets revealed by Zion, the tree line, who has a hook shot ready. Arteezy down in the middle of the river, though. He's the one caught out. Fissure, and nobody even in the neighborhood to protect him. Melts to the Pulse Nova. Immediately, Secret gonna try to push out this bottom lane with S4 and get the hell out of dodge.
Maybe close, goes for the stun. Half a second too late.
He's right on their tails, man. He's just nipping at them. This is intense for Secret right now. They cannot even breathe for a moment.
It does show you like just the map awareness and skill of these Secret players to just get away by half a second every single time with their split push. A lot of players in those positions would just get caught and you'd say, well, they got caught, but they've got to be split pushing when you're this far behind. But Secret do it without getting caught.
In good news for Secret, that is the last smoke LGD have for, I think it's like 7.5 minutes now. So they're going to have to apply offense the good old-fashioned way. Just straight down the middle lane, show their faces, and go for towers. But well, the bad news for Secret is these heroes demolish towers. An anti-mage with a Manta, not even popped just yet. Maybe with the Max Edict, almost level 16, 3.5k gold. He's still keeping the pace with a free farm AM on his own team. As Yao swings around bottom lane, Puppey just hiding in the trees, and this may be where you want to have S4 on your team. The head-on tactics aren't working, but you've got the old Alliance captain to coach the team on the Rat Dota.
The ways of the Admiral Bulldog.
Yes,
Well,
they had a seance this morning, I heard.
It's going to be tricky. You've got Puppey down bottom. You've got a couple up top. Familiar's also great for some split push as well. And yeah, the options for Secret right now is still limited to just kind of trying to buy as much time as possible to scale towards that late game.
This Aegis is running out soon. Oh, they found one. Again, a trap. Zai caught out on the high ground. Yules into the stun and dead.
That's the one hero you're most okay with losing, though. So
Yeah, it is.
as much as he's quote-unquote off-lane three position player, no, this game he's the main support.
Secret are applying pressure elsewhere. 3 up in the top lane, but look who's rotated into Hasted maybe. This time he finds Kuro. The cooldown gets dropped on Sylar, but Kuro won't be so lucky. Yules is at the ready. Monovoid gets chucked out just to ensure the kill. A drive-by by the pony. And now they push the top lane. This will be the second to last outer tower if they claim it, and, well, it seems all but certain they will claim it. They are lacking their Earthshaker, but
he's
doesn't
defending
really
the split
matter.
push, but nice deep Radiant Observer Ward spots him out. This is important because if you're going to split push mid-bottom lane, and you see a 4-man push from LGD, you're like, okay, it's probably safe. But an Earthshaker Blink Echo with one hero TPing in, and that's potentially a dead Gyro. Although, with that said, Arteezy, he's still split pushing. Maybe he's not taking advantage of that.
Oh, no,
info.
he's not. Blink Echo. Yao says, what the hell are you thinking, sir? Mega kill for maybe slaughtering the copter.
Was just about to talk about that ward preventing stuff like that happening, but Arteezy, I mean, you're
Doesn't
in a
help
desperate
you against
position.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you talked about with Eternal Envy the other day. Sometimes in this position, you just have to suicide push as a core. Keep on pushing, keep the lanes back until they actually kill you, just to slow the game down. But he is their team fight right now, really, and it's going to be a tough hold from here, Gods.
Absolutely. Sylar's got the Eagle Song up, so we'll be going to a Butterfly. Great damage output and pushing potential from this. And
let's see, can Secret pull out a miracle here? It's going to take close to that to hold this one. There is no Echo, which is the slight piece of good news. At the same time, no Gyrocopter, no buyback. S4 caught. There's a double stun into a Death Ward. They get the kill. Xiaowei is forced back. Grave onto maybe holding him and keeping him alive
No
for
more
now.
Aegis.
Now the self-fuels. There's no Echo. He's going to Bloodstone deny, so they don't get the benefit of that kill. But LGD will be rebuffed here, at least for now. There's the blink in, and now the Enchant Totem follow-up. They find the kill.
And Lesh is back in 5 seconds.
Very surgical
so
moves here by LGD, and they will back.
I don't know if they want to continue going for a high ground. With Gyro respawning, and again, Lesh not having the Aegis, this makes things a bit tricky, and you just have that high-risk factor where if the Leshrac dies for whatever reason, that's a huge amount of gold going the way of Team Secret.
And they've got 2 really big items about to come out. The BKB just completed on maybe's Leshrac. Secret don't have much on this. They have the Impetus, I believe, but that's really about it. And frankly, this Enchantress is just running for her life. The Queen of Pain ult, so-so.
Not bad. I mean, yeah.
He's just so tanky at this point. I mean, you're looking at a Leshrac with 1,700 HP, the double heals coming out, earn charges all over the place, and it's going to be tough to actually burst him down.
And Butterfly for Anti-Mage, very close as well, so...
And the next Roach, maybe they wait for that, but they found Puppey in the jungle. Fissure blocks the path of retreat. Maybe just going to bypass the call down and go directly. And Zai hooked MMY in the midst of this. He finds the first kill, did take some heavy damage, but Xiaowei marches forward, goes to work on the backside with the Death Ward on Arteezy, but cleaned up by a beautiful S4 ultimate. Not going to matter. Sylar was there. He slams it home. Then the Yules. They're looking to clean up the entirety of the Secret draft. Kuro being dove back. Blake, Enchant, he's dead. It's 4. The lone survivor, the clockwork of Zai, who did TP home. Buybacks are available on 2 here, but there's no cooldown, there's no Queen of Pain ult, and LGD, they're looking for the Game 2 win. There's the buyback. I honestly think they could consider going here, but they just want to play it safe. They know Roche is up, Gods, and with the next stages, in fact, he's up in 15 seconds. Then they can really just ball down mid.
Yeah, and buyback's already been forced. So from there, you're looking at Anti-Mage and Leshrac scaling even more towards the late game. Gyrocopter, his item progression is going to slow down. That was his BKB money. He no longer has anything towards the Mithril Hammer, the last piece of the puzzle for it. So 1,300 short of a BKB. May have it before the next LGD push comes, since they're going to go for Roshan, but there's so little farm on the map for Secret to take. It's really difficult for anyone to build items right now.
I just look at the net worth graph, and there's just so few green dots. It's a really sad sight for the Secret fans out there.
I mean, it was about 20 minutes before they got a kill. So
there's 5 dots
to have
here
a few.
for Secret, and there's just an endless sea of red below that, just marking LGD's dominance so far of this game number 2.
It's the blue, dude.
It's the blue. Well, maybe not only playing a really strong hero, but he's played it well. He's made all the right moves, and now they look for another Aegis. Sylar will blink into the pit, and away LGD goes with this Aegis. Bottom tier 2 still to be claimed. Maybe they want that, but it honestly feels like they can just run down mid and take a full lane of Rex.
One of the few games we're going to get to see maybe an Aghanim Scepter on Dazzle as well. MMY has a point booster picked up, so real luxury items coming out. And just feeling like he doesn't need a Glimmer Cape or anything. There's no real magic damage burst coming out from Secret. outside of like the gyrocopter, but you don't need a Glimmer Cape too much this game. Probably doesn't feel like it needs a 4-staff. Just tanking up with more stats just limits Secret's killing potential or ability to win a fight.
You called them super carries earlier, and they were only just getting towards it now. But, I mean, look at that net worth graph.
Yep.
They are over-doubling up every single Secret core. These two alone, top lane, S4, trying to split push. He does Blake, but it's not really the longest range Blake, and he's caught by an Enchant Totem. Solo killed in the end by Yao. Clobbers him. That will slow down the push that was mounting bottom lane, but LGD still not giving up any towers for free. They hold the tier 2 top. They're going to even defend mid with Xiao 8, hunting familiars on his way out. And now Kuro in the river. He'll be the next pick off here. Found a rune, but not going to matter. The regen won't save him from the endless fires of, as you called him, the blue dude. And now it's time for LGD. Down the mid lane, looking to make this series 1-1. And should they pull it off, gods, it makes Group A super interesting down the stretch. Both teams would be tied with 11 points. Here we go. Tower falls. Where's the hold from Secret? No buybacks on 2. It might not even be a hold. They may just GG out in the middle of this push, honestly. They take 1 melee Rex. They look for Puppey as well. The Blake forward from Sylar. He's found him deep behind the tier 4s. Shredded. Just never felt the impact of the Enchantress this game. And now a leap in again, forcing Arteezy even further back. They are really committing for this one. LGD, normally they play it safe and just take objectives, but they want some kills along the way. These guys want to celebrate the win that they see in their future. Sylar barreling towards this tower, slicing and dicing, and they may make their move in just a moment. A stun forthcoming. Nope, maybe does get hexed here. Maybe they can turn this one, but he's ever so tanky. He's still got the BKB available. If he really needs to use it, he can, and he'll pop it now. And he runs back in with Sylar trying to isolate Kuroki on the backside, shreds his armor. Doesn't even have the Mana Void pop just yet. He's waiting to use an Arteezy, it seems. Might be able to kill him at the well. S4 also fairly low. They force back the Visage again, and now it's only 3 to hold. Call down already used. Queen of Pain hold up. LGD showing discipline here in the clutch. They'll take 2 full lanes of Rex, and I don't even know if they back. Here's Puppey to reemerge, but the Fissure's going to catch 2. The Lesh stun the other. Everybody disabled on Secret. Sylar just chopping Bambi to bits here. He's still got the Aegis. He didn't get off the Mana Void. He may get a double kill on the way out as Arteezy throws his own life away. Everything for the base. It's not going to matter. LGD make it 1-1, and they take this game 2 in one of the most one-sided games of the tournament, frankly.
Yeah, very convincing, but you could I'm all from start to finish, just great play coming out of LGD. They dominated the mid lane, and the solo kill from may be a big part of that, but it feels like, to me at least, even without it, things just with their draft were really hard to deal with. They had no answer for the anti-mage. There was no real way Secret could have laned it to pressure the anti-mage. And at the same time, you had a Leshrac in mid lane who was going to win his lane just by the nature of the Earthshaker rotations and the Witch Doctor camping mid to protect him. There was no room for Enchantress to get any early ganks off. No real obvious lane for Puppey to kill, so it forced Secret to play this very farm-intensive, greedy style.
You know, the worst part is we don't get a game 3. I want to see how this story ends.
If they finish tied at the top of the group, that's when the tiebreaker happens, LD.
I want to see how this story
Hopefully we'll be back
ends.
for that.
Well, we may have to wait until the main event, but my God, if these teams play each other this well going into the main event, we could be in for a real treat. They won't face each other in the first round, but who knows? Maybe this is a preview of a potential semifinal in Key Arena. Well, with that said, gods, a close game 1 that Secret pulled away with through great execution. A not-so-close game 2 that LGD crushed through, but the end result, each team gets a point. Both teams will emerge 11 points and still on top of Group A, but it also means the rest of the pack is still within striking distance if they have a really good run down the stretch. Complexity comes to mind as a team to keep an eye on. With that, back to the panel to see what they have to say.
Thank you very much. And as that game showcased, I think now we can finally all agree that Lesh is a pretty decent hero. He's all right.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of a discussion here on the panel as to whether Leshrac is a good hero, but we all think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, at this point.
Okay, so
Yeah, so let's talk more about the other parts of the game, or just overall. I mean, LGD, like they said, dominated in game 2.
yeah, maybe was playing out of this world in that game. The solo kill he got on S4, it's basically, I was talking to Winter about it during the game, how when you play the Quap versus Lesh matchup, you might want to not even skill Shadow Strike, because the problem is the trade you always get is the animation of casting Shadow Strike is pretty long, so Leshrac can answer in turn with a stun, and the actual exchange of health and mana favors the Leshrac every time. And the way the way S4 got first blood, it was on his own cliff. He tried to cast a Shadow Strike, maybe immediately identified he had a shot at it. He went for a stun, 2 right clicks, and got a Lightning Storm off to finish the kill. So. That lane after that point was really, really difficult. And we never really saw Puppy trying to change the balance in that mid lane.
Yeah,
the Enchantress was just non-existent for me.
I thought he was going to gank him a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you can't
that was
leave
why
it.
They picked it, right?
Yeah. I was like, okay, well, if they want to go for a greedy jungler, they could have picked something else, like Enigma, let's say. But if you can't just have Quap versus Lush one-on-one. That is, it's just a terrible, terrible matchup for Queen of Pain.
Yeah, we'll talk more as we take a look at a highlight, and it's a highlight because it was the only time Lesh died. Other than that, Lesh was killing the whole other time.
Decent position to reveal
But
it, and maybe
yeah, I
try to
mean,
pick Fissure Puppy to
of course, the
start.
mid
Side
matchup,
trap
I
on the
mean,
wrong
most
side
of it,
this one.
yeah,
Now the Leshrac
maybe
still
just
jumping up
going
four.
absolutely
Hero
out of
from
his
Noah's
mind
done.
does help the
Coming
game
now
for
from
LGD.
Curve.
But overall, I mean,
Tries
LGD
to
just
fight
seemed to
between
play a
the
lot more
middle. Grabs
confidently as a
outside,
team
hooks away. The Death Warden doesn't finish
off
it.
the back of
Puppy
maybe.
actually
Yeah,
gonna
this is
turn
just
this
exceptional
one.
play from Secret. Like, with how much they have stacked against them, they show signs of life here, which I honestly thought this game could have potentially ended without Secret getting a kill, because LGD were taking complete control of the map. The Leshrac was 9-0. He had all their 9 kills at like minute 12. So he had I think it was 15 minutes. He had Bloodstone, Arcane Boots, 1,200 gold, Bottle, Wand, and a TP Scroll. It's like twice the net worth you usually have or something, or maybe 1.5 times, right? He was ridiculously overfarmed. And I think it should also be mentioned how well Yao and maybe played together in this game. I think the synergy between the Earthshaker and the Leshrac really showed. And what Secret should maybe draw from this is that in both games, LGD pick Shaker, they put it on Yao in the offlane, and both games he has a really high impact. I think it might be his absolute key go-to hero when he doesn't get the Tusk.
Yeah, so as we take a look at the ending moments of Game 2, Winter, let's talk about that. Yeah, on that Earthshaker, I mean, they're not afraid to pick it early. Of course, it is a little bit flexible. Do you think it's worth banning for other teams in even that first phase if they can set up a different trade?
I think it is, because if you look back at the games EG played yesterday, there were a few games that I think it was against Hot 6, they banned Earthshaker in the first phase. I think Earthshaker is a hero that can disrupt a lot of the early game. And if you look at Secret, the games that they lost, they had trouble in the early game. So if you are looking to beat Secret and looking for like signs of weakness in their play, it's got to be in the early game. If you can somehow nullify their early game and gain an advantage from the early game, which what Sin said, the Earthshaker plus Lash combination was so devastating in the game. So I feel that you should look towards getting a strong early game going for yourself to be able to stand a chance to be beating Secret. And the other big reason I felt that point shine was because S4 got solo kill. Otherwise, I think the game would have been a lot different because the Quap would be much of a bigger factor in the game, and the supports probably wouldn't have been forced to building so many maybe only one on the Enchantress instead of 2 on both, because they felt that they needed to do more since the offlane is a Clockwork, and Clockwork generally falls off very hard. He becomes a support later into the game if he doesn't get too many kills.
All right. Well, as the commentators were wrapping up, I mean, do you guys agree this was a pretty good showing from both teams, and this is fairly accurate of how this is going to go if they meet again in later stages of TI5?
I'm actually curious what you guys think. So, Winter, you said that the weakness of Secret, if you're looking for a sign of weakness in their lineup, is the early game. What's the weakness of LGD?
I think LGD sometimes they in the first day they built their lineup. I think it was the game against Cloud9. They built their lineup way too heavily onto like late game. They had Ember plus Gyro, and they gave Cloud9 a lot of window of opportunities to end the game early, but Cloud9 didn't really do that. They had a good early game. Like, it's just the execution when they were pushing and finishing the game that wasn't crisp. I think that if LGD does that against Secret wouldn't allow the game to extend to a point where your lineup is actually going to shine. They will just finish you off at a specific timing, and you won't have a window to showcase your late game. So I feel that is one of the things that we saw from LGD. Sometimes they could overthink that we need stronger late game, and they forget that our lanes and early game are actually as important as that, and they just give away a timing window towards the enemy to finish the game early.
All right, Ben, what are your thoughts about LGD?
Yeah, it seems like they think they're very confident in their late game and they develop pretty strong lanes, but that mid window, which Secret took advantage of in game number 1, is just like, oh wow, we didn't expect you to push that early. And if you can execute it well, you can just cut off their head right there. And they had a lot of ways. They have like kinetic field, fissure. They could have delayed the push, but it just seems like if you catch them right off guard at that particular moment, you can just win. And
right.
we didn't see the LGD IG game, but IG actually took a game.
That's true.
Versus LGD.
That is true.
I'm not exactly sure how that game went down, though.
Yeah, that's true. So LGD, of course, they have that one tie with IG. And again, tying with Secret, so both of them moving on, tied for 11 points in first place. But a lot of people saying, all right, well, LGD, their day 1s and day 2s weren't exactly the hardest. We'll have to see when they play Secret. Now they're tied. I think most people have to be convinced by now. Okay, there's a reason why a lot of people were rating LGD so high, maybe even top 3, top 2. Of TI5. And that's good news because we get to watch LGD again in our second match coming up here on the main stream. However, they are going to have to play against Na'Vi, who is still in their previous match against Fnatic. So right now, after taking a look at the standings real quick, we will jump into that game, see how Na'Vi's doing, and then we'll get a better picture of how that matchup happens in match 2 here on the mainstream. But yeah, as you can see now, with a 3-2-0 record for both LGD and Secret in Group A, still leading strong. So the next matches continue to matter quite a bit for both of those two teams in securing that first seed for Group A. And the rest of the lineups, of course, we will find out in the later half of the day, especially for Group B, if anything kind of changes for the middle of the pack there with VP, Vici, and even Empire. Can they climb back up? They are having some trouble so far in TI5. So for now, let's jump into the Na'Vi versus Fnatic game, see how they're doing, see how they end up in Game 2. They had a dominating performance in Game 1, and then we'll get to find out how they do against LGD afterwards.
Fine, just sitting here.
Yeah.
Because again, the Naga Siren's going to be sending illusions to other lanes, sure. It happens, That's just how the hero actually functions. But by the way, welcome in to everyone tuning in. We're now on the main stream here. And I guess we must be the last game running, right? At least in the first series.
And this game could be running for quite a bit more if Na'Vi are able to get it their way. If you're just joining, this is a game in which Seneko is on his Naga and has managed to find a hell of a lot of farm. He said, Havorst, I'm going to carry today. He's got a Radiance, Manta style complete now as well on top of the Octarine 45 minutes in. We've seen Fnatic have a couple of really nice team fights in which they've been able to get themselves into the base now, but KYXWay getting X'd up in the Glimmer indeed from Fnatic. Able to get himself back out. So they're slowly chipping away at the base. It's just the ranged racks, but still, look at the other lanes. I mean, they're going to have to send someone down to deal with this creep wave here. And Seneko on the back of this. He's really holding Na'Vi in on this game with the amount of pressure he's applying to the lanes. And it's a lot of this, it just feels a lot of pressure is on Seneko at this point.
It's kind of all on him, actually. If he gets picked off one more time, he still has what? Right now, he's not able to buy back for 3 minutes. He'll have enough money when the buyback cooldown is back up, but for a while, Na'Vi, they need to continually push out lanes. That is their only game plan. When they went mid trying to fight because they knew Roshan was going to spawn, they had the right mentality about wanting to fight over Roshan. That part was fine, but they just didn't respect Fnatic's 5 versus 5 potential enough. I mean, if we're speaking bluntly, Fnatic's 5-man is insane. Like, they're actually so good in 5 versus 5 engagements, especially considering the amount of mobility that their cores have. And we said, even at the start, Na'Vi, they lack disable. They're not able to really hold the storm in place. They can't deal with Mushi. So when you take that 5 versus 5 and you song aggressively, you leave yourself no retreat option. And then Fnatic just run them over. So I think that decision in of itself has kind of put them into this spot right now where Seneko is just being completely relied on to keep them in the game.
I mean, if you do look at the lockdown that Na'Vi have, essentially they've got the 3 seconds at the Waning Rift, the 3.5 seconds of the Hex, and then it is down pretty much to the Snowball Stun as well. But even in those, kind of 6-7 seconds, if you perfectly kind of stagger them, stagger the lockdown, I don't know if they're killing this Storm because he's pretty darn fat. 2,300 health. And there's a freaking goddamn Undying keeping him alive with everything that he's got in his items.
There's a ton of heals, there's Glimmer Capes, there's Solar Crest, Force Staffs. 7 seconds sounds like a really long time, but in reality, trying to line those things up together without the enemy team doing anything to stop you is very unlikely. So in the grand scheme of things, they don't really have a lot to deal with KYXY at this point, and he is sitting on top of 5,600 gold, likely going to be seeing him pick up that Hex. He might even buy it and just say, screw having buyback, because right now, Fnatic are still pressuring a lot, and he's got a lot of Bloodstone charges, so even if he does die, he'll be respawning relatively quick.
Man, with the 13, it's going to be something around, 20 second, 20, 30 maximum respawn. It's not going to be a big one at all.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah. But, I mean, as well in these fights, we've been seeing the Blood Rage being used on KOXY, so he's doing a hell of a lot of damage zipping around. They're really not scared of him dropping because they know that they can keep the Storm alive. Na'Vi here, just ready, and they're waiting for Fnatic. It's very hard for Na'Vi now to leave the base. In fact, I don't think we've seen anyone other than Seneko dare to leave. At the same time, Kesik, he's got the BKB now on his Crystal Maiden as well. Level 16 here with a 3rd point in Freezing Field. Na'Vi have got to be so scared of these 5-on-5 engagements.
At least they have a couple of ways of stopping the ultis still. Like when they had that CM ult mid, that was kind of the thing that sealed the deal. Like Kesik standing in the trees, getting that huge freezing field off, killing I think 2 or 3 members of Na'Vi just in terms of sheer damage output. That was a huge play. They can Walrus Punch, I think, to stop Black King Bar or BKB ulti, and then they also have the Naga Net. That's pretty much the only 2 ways. So looking for him to try to get some big ultis off. Fnatic though, they're not going too crazy right now. They're kind of just content to control the map, farm it up. They're going to see that teleport from Seneko. Actually, no, he might have been on a vision when he did that. But if they see him teleport to a lane, they immediately have to pressure because you want to always push the Naga Siren back into her base. The longer you can keep her confined in there, the less likely it is that you're going to have lanes being pushed like all the way to your base. And you can see what he's doing. Like he's actually just running his illusions past creep waves. He's not trying to sit there and tank him out. He's just putting him in front of the tier 2 and like parking it there and just trying to get the lanes out as far as he can.
Naga doing Naga things here on all the lanes. He did pick up the Diffuser Blade as well. It's going to be very nice in the fighting and in the pushing also bottom lane. Going in on to this tier 3 KYXY zipping forward. And oh, Vorst, yeah, just chilling about here. Vorst in terms of farm on top of the AC now. Does have 2,400. But yeah, these illusions, they're sitting there tanking up the tower as well. Why not? That's going to be a creep wave going down the amount of farm that this Naga's got, allowing him to achieve this. And again, you're going to have to send someone back on the side of Fnatic because you've got a couple of siege creeps, so they're going to be knocking on your door. And indeed, KYX were there with the TP back. And, oh man, this game, we could be in for the long haul, Andy, with this one.
It is possible. I mean, it's 50 minutes. Yeah. For a Naga Siren game, that is not long by any stretch of the imagination. We've seen like 2-hour games, something like that with Naga Sirens before in the past. But Roshan, going to be the next point of contention. Again, forcing KYXY out is the big deal. It means Na'Vi can get themselves going on the map. They know Roshan's going to be up soon. Funix scouts the pit. He sees it. It's not up just yet, but they know. That's why they're going for the smoke play. I really hope they at least save Song to run away this time, because if they didn't learn their lesson from what they did mid before, it could be Fnatic just taking another really strong fight.
Yeah, smoked up at the moment, Na'Vi. Seeing what they can find. And as you said, this would be a lovely time to try and catch out Fnatic, because other than now, Na'Vi haven't really left the base here, so it would really catch Fnatic off guard. But it is not going to be the case. Fnatic themselves grouped up towards the mid lane. And I was just kind of having a look. There is no gem at the moment on the side of Na'Vi. We do have a gem on the side of Fnatic, though. Of course, Kesik holding it on the CM. And Seneko just continue to push out, has found 4,100 net worth now as well. And he is catching up here with KYXY Stormfire. There's going to be a bit of a fight kicking off though here. Kesik, he tries for the freezing field, but the Walrus Punch is there to cancel it. And they do lose the Crystal Maiden. At the same time, KYXY looking for Artstyle. Denny's there to back it up. KYXY, will he be able to find the kill? No, Artstyle with the Shallow Grave. KYXY is going to have to get himself the hell out of there. Doesn't want to fight it. Actually going to join the rest of the gang, looking for Seneko. Seneko, he's got the TP. Will be able to disengage this time with the Song of the Siren.
They're giving away Roche. Like that TP basically just says we cannot fight Roche anymore. I'm really surprised that after getting that CM kill, they didn't just try to go for that. And the funny part about it too was KYXY had Orchid that entire time. He just let Artstyle use Grave. Like he had Orchid off cooldown and just didn't go for the kill. That is a really bizarre kind of exchange, I guess, from both teams. But Seneko teleporting himself top. He's going to just shove the wave in again, trying to prevent the push in mid. And maybe because of the lane equilibrium right now, Na'Vi aren't actually giving away Roche because now Fnatic have to de-push again. Like they're feeling not as confident, like maybe they don't kill it fast enough and Na'Vi would be able to react in time. So definitely a very stressful situation for both teams. And this is still anyone's game, right? Like if Fnatic win one good team fight or they're able to get Roshan, that might be enough to help them break high ground. I think if Na'Vi somehow manage to get Roshan, Fnatic are going to be in a really, really bad place.
It's getting harder and harder against this Naga Siren. The courier going out to the secret shop. What's going to be the item of choice here for Seneko? Does he go for the butterfly or the... Well, it's going to be the butterfly straight up purchased as well. So that means there's no buyback available for Seneko here, going all in with the butterfly purchase.
He's really tanky though. So he has 24 armor, evasion, and 2100 health. His illusions are going to be absolute monsters at this point. Even trying to kill those in general, it's going to be tough. Fnatic with the smoke, just trying to scout out the Roshan pit. They see it's up.
Here we go. Zip zapping straight in onto Funny Kid with the Hex, but now with the return Hex, they're trying to do it for the low ground. Dendy there controlling KYXY. Artstyle is the one that might be in a lot of trouble. There we go. The Orchid this time, but the song coming out is not quick enough to save Artstyle. Artstyle will fall. The rest of Na'Vi getting themselves back up to the high ground. They're going to be all right. 38 seconds until Artstyle returns. It could have gone a lot worse for Na'Vi that one. They do just lose the Dazzle, but the big kind of punishment here for them is the fact that Fnatic are going to be able to take Roche off the back of it, and there's nothing that Na'Vi can do to fight this. They've got a Hex now on the Undying as well.
Ohio is just like, he's like, whatever, just casual Undying, 6-1 and 11. At 53 minutes, this is actually an insane amount of items for an Undying to have. And the Hex is so good. Like double Hex, you initiate with a Storm, you Hex, then you get the pull. You can go for the Orchid as well if Manta Style is down on Seneko, and then you can just go into another Hex. They actually have more than enough to be able to deal with this Naga Siren inside a fight. So for now, having the Aegis Fnatic, they want to be aggressive. They want to control. They want to force Seneko to come back to base.
Mushi at the moment in the mid lane on his Bloodseeker. And just look at Mushi as well. He is incredibly stacked. He's got a Butterfly. He's got the MKB. He's got everything that he needs. He's also holding the cheese at the moment. So when he does turn up to the fights, he's just going to be something else that Na'Vi are really going to have to worry about. We haven't really seen him in full force in these last couple of engagements. But when he does turn up, the difficulty for Na'Vi is certainly going to be stepped up. Seneko, indeed, just continuing to pressure this top lane. Hasn't been able to do too much damage to the tier 3, but is going to be able to skip out the creeps in the middle as well. Mushi trying to do what he can really to deal with it. He's kind of been left on his own to defend the base. The rest of Fnatic hanging around here on this bottom lane, which is kind of where we've seen them sitting for around the last 20 minutes. They always come back to this spot. They really want to try and break this area of the map. But each and every time, they're still yet to take down the tier 3. Na'Vi have been pretty strong with the defense.
It's just really hard to fully commit when you're in the situation, right? Because what if Fnatic make a mistake? What if they fail this high ground push with an Aegis? That means that you're going to have to wait minimum for the next Roshan to spawn. And by that point, it might already be too late. You can see Seneko, he still hasn't even felt pressured enough to teleport to base. He's saying, yeah, it's fine. I'll just sit up here, pop my Manta on cooldown, throw some mirror images at the tower. Like this tier 3 top lane is taking more damage than the bottom tier 3 that Na'Vi are being pushed in by right now. So it's a little bit concerning.
Oh, they're going to go in straight away with the Hex onto Havorst. They want to try and find it, but he's going to be fine. They're actually backing up because the Hex now to KYXY will be able to get the BKB out, looking for the kill onto Funny, pulling him in, but they are hard. The Snowball there just in time, along with the Shallow Grave, and now it's going to be Fnatic getting themselves the hell out. Snowball chasing down KYXY with the stun catch. No, he's able to just duke it out, but now with the ensnare, Seneko's turned up to the fight here. KYXY will get Glimmer kicked up. He's going to be fine for the time being because Na'Vi backing themselves back up to the base. And KYXY, he's looking for blood. He just goes straight in there. He is not scared at all. He knows that they cannot kill this Storm. There's a freezing field here, because why the hell not? It looks pretty there from Kesekimba. Mushi continues to go, and now KXY with the Hex onto Dendy. Shiva's Guard as well. Can they peel it when Mushi's damaged? Artstyle just in time here with the Shallow Grave. Dendy needs to get himself out. Can't go down. They've already lost Funnick here on the side of Na'Vi. Now with the Hex onto KYXY. Buyback from Funnick here. And now Seneko going in. Can he clean this one? Is he the carry that Na'Vi needed at this point in time? Kesik's able to retreat himself out. Johnny getting low, getting healed up by the Soul Rip here by the Undying. There comes Funnick in with the balls. 3 heroes down at the moment. They've managed to pop the Aegis here on Storm Spirit. Can they kill him for the second time? That's going to be the real testament to see if they can do it. But no, KYXY is out of there. They're going to go for the easier target. Looking for Mushi. Mushi eats the cheese. He's a bit of a fan of the old Gorgonzola, trying to continue to fight this. Blood Right's being thrown down. Havorst bringing Kesekimba low. Kesik still alive at this moment in time. KYXY just doing too much. Mushi low. Needs the lifesteal. Is he going to find it? Mushi's going to drop. KYXY getting psyched up. Can they kill the Storm? Yes, they can! It's a team wipe. Fnatic hit the deck, and Na'Vi are able, for what seems to be the first time in forever, take an incredibly convincing fight against Fnatic. What a performance.
They're going to force buybacks here too. Seneko TP's mid straight away, forces Mushi to buy back into the game. The Storm's going to be up in 20. KYXY had a lot of Bloodstone charges for that, but that was cheese. That was Aegis. They forced 1 buyback? Only 1, and that's with Seneko using his song and immediately canceling it, saying to himself, okay, this song wasn't actually ideal. So the fact that Na'Vi, they get that huge weave stack going, they chase out with mass minus armor. This Naga Siren is insanely tanky at this point, has a diffusal blade. She can just upgrade it if she wants, buy moon shards, and pretty much Boots of Travel level 2. I think he actually has enough money for everything if he wants to do that. That fight all kicked off by KYXY going back in, tries to kill Dendy, the Grave saves him, and then Funnick dies, sure, but again, he had buyback, and they commit so hard. They want to end the game because they know that Seneko is not going to allow them to keep those lanes pushed. He's just going to continually pressure, and unfortunately for Fnatic, it wasn't great. Like, that was a 15,000 experience swing of a team fight.
Oh.
I mean, that's gold, but yeah.
Damn.
The experience
well,
was...
we'll have a look at the XP now, Andy. Oh, there we go. There we go. Starting to swing round indeed. I mean, they've got to be careful. You can't be losing fights like this, as you said, against a lineup with an incredibly stacked Seneko Naga. 36,000 net worth coming up on the board for him. 6K ahead of the KYXY Storm Spirit. And, I mean, what does he buy? What's he got coming out for him at the moment? Is it just the upgraded... Okay, it's the upgraded Diffusal. Okay, it's going to pop up to the second level of that. But with the amount of money he's got enough to, of course, upgrade those bots. And then after that, is this how you remain 6-slotted? Is there anything you can go for on top of this? Anything
you can get
swap
Refresher.
Out?
You can get Refresher.
But does he need I mean, with the Octarine, it's a 45 seconds cooldown.
A lot of it is more about like refreshing Boots of Travel and stuff. Like even with a lower cooldown from Octarine, you can do stuff like bot in, spawn illusions, refresh, bot back to base. Because sometimes in the late game, if a team sees you bot to a wave and you don't have Refresher, they will just go for an all-in push, right? That's why Seneko is very conservative with his Boots of Travel use so far. And if he has to leave base, he always walks if he sees Fnatic on his side of the map. If he was to teleport, then Fnatic can just say, oh, we just push. But if you get Refresher, you have a lot more opportunity to play around with it and make a little bit more space and deal more damage to the tier 3s by being able to use your bots twice in succession. So he can go that. He can decide to go for Necrobook, put it on the courier, just be really annoying and just spawn stuff. Buy his own courier even. I mean, when you're getting to this kind of gold territory, a lot of stuff is possible. But he should buy Moonshards first.
Oh, Moonshard. Ah, yeah, that's something that I've overlooked. I'd like to see a bit of the old Moonshard Seneko Naga. That's the dream there. Mushi. He's being eyed up here by Na'Vi, and here we go straight in onto Mushi with the Hex as well. Can they bring him down? Yes, they can! That's your Bloodseeker down for 2 minutes. Let's have a look at the buyback, because it doesn't look like it's available. KYXY trying to fight back here, pulling in Artstyle here. Artstyle getting low, but with the Ghost Scepter going to be okay. And now as Na'Vi continues to fight, KYXY is incredibly low on mana, needs to be careful. There is a freezing field coming out from Kessing, but doing enough, but the rawest punch there from Funnick will cancel it. They lose KYXY as well. He will buy back straight away, but Kessing on the sidelines. The Mushi Bounty Bloodseeker down as well. They don't have buyback. Seneko there with a clutch song. TP's out. The Na'Vi side will escape. They did lose Funnick and Artstyle off the back of that, but the fact that they were able to get Mushi off the map for 90 seconds is huge. And okay, there's your 7th slotted item. It's going to be the Necro 3 picked up by Seneko. He wants to get the push on.
He bought his own courier too.
A Hex picked up by Havorst as well. I mean, this game is going from spectacle to spectacle. I
mean, this is the Midas touch, I guess you could say, right? Like, Seneko right now is the king of money. He's got almost 800 CS, 770 right now, 60 minutes in.
Oh, man.
And this was a guy who didn't start off as a position 1. Like, it came to be as the game kind of progressed. And like I was saying earlier, man, in Seneko we trust. The guy can play pretty much any kind of role that he needs to.
He has more CS now than the entirety of his team put together. The work that this guy's putting in.
Yep. I mean, this is what happens though when you play Naga, right? Like, you soak up the entire map.
Yeah, it's expected.
It's very, very common for this.
Especially at 61 minutes in.
Yeah. So now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, he's sending his Necrobook on the courier out to him in the top lane, or keeping it at least in the area. The other thing too that was super painful for Fnatic, Mushi is still dead. Like, he bought back, and then he died again. He was dead for 2 minutes. And then KYXY bought back, Seneko songed, and KYXY couldn't get a return kill. So that was a massive investment coming in from Fnatic with no gain. Absolutely nothing. And because they lost a huge team fight, Na'Vi have been pushing the lanes so hard. Like, Seneko is sending his Necrobook minions down middle lane now. He's got the illusions as well. He's actually mismicroed a bit because, okay, there we go. Now the Necrobook is actually attacking. But they know Roshan's going to be up soon. And this time, Fnatic, if they're going to contest, they need to smoke for it.
Look, they're just dealing with this push from the Naga. You know, where's your creep wave at now? It's gone. And the Necros, yep, KYXY he's having a bit of a difficulty. And at this point, you know, if you look to the game about 20 minutes ago, it was Na'Vi being pressured into their base. Now, it's pretty much Fnatic being very, very careful about when they leave theirs, because they've been on the receiving end of the aggression that Na'Vi have, and no, they're at a point now where they can quite easily lose a fight against Na'Vi if Na'Vi get the jump. And Na'Vi, they're going to look to use this space to go for Roshan. But Fnatic, Smoked up. They want to contest this one. This is going to be big. It's a half L for the moment. Kessick leading the way here. In we go straight away with the BKB. Now with the freezing field. Funnick trying to get the no with the Warriors punch, but he's actually going to opt to use the snowball here. They have lost art style here on the Dazzle. Havor's doing what he can here with the Eye of the Storm. Seneko running around as well, focusing on Mushi. Mushi gets down, and he will be able to bring down Havor before Seneko can save him with the Song of the Siren. Seneko will simply TP out. They'll send Dendi back to base as well. And this is going to open it up for Fnatic themselves to claim Roche and get the Aegis and the Cheese onto their team. A big win there for Fnatic.
That was such a good timing. Like, Seneko not being there at the start of the fight, Mushi just going in straight away, killing one of the highest net worth heroes. Like, they took out Havost, and as soon as he dies, it's automatically just, they can't fight anymore. Artstyle, I think, was the first one who dropped a little bit further to the right, inside of the river. But it was all about taking away the Aegis from Na'Vi.
There's also a gem that was dropped as well. I believe that is Artstyle's gem. They didn't spot that out. So we'll see if the team recovers that one.
It's still kind of important to have gem, but for now, it's more just about like who wins the next couple of engagements. And Vision right now definitely favoring Fnatic. They've gotten a couple of wards down. And that smoke, you kind of have to anticipate that play from Fnatic, because when you see all the lanes pushing in and Fnatic's not showing on the map, it becomes fairly obvious, okay, well, they're sitting in the base or they know we're doing Roche. So it felt like Na'Vi maybe weren't fully prepared for that, or at the very least, Seneko wasn't close enough to